like 96.5 The Fan.
Right side throw, touchdown! Kansas! Kansas City wins the game!
Welcome into The Drive with Carrington Harrison.
Back-to-back best sports talk hosts as voted on in the Pitch magazine.
Live from the Fan Studios. Here's C-Dot.
Let's do this. Another day, another dollar, another edition of The Drive. You were listening to The Drive on 96.5 The Fan, 96.5thefan.com, and also the Odyssey app. My name is Carrington Harrison. Very excited to be here with you on this wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. We are closing in on the NFL Draft. We have a lot to get into in today's show. Coming up in about an hour or so, we're going to be joined by Denny Matthews, the Hall of Fame voice of the Kansas City Royals. We're also going to be joined by the lead draft analyst over at CBS Sports. Mike Renner is going to be on the show in the 4 o'clock hour. The Royals are back in town today. They play the Colorado Rockies. We will certainly get you ready for that series because you got to throw out the records. When you get a Royals and Rockies series like we have coming up this week at Kauffman Stadium. We'll get to it in just a bit. But before we get to any of that, I want to remind you guys to come out and hang out with us at the Landing in Liberty on Thursday. We're going to be watching round 1 of the NFL Draft. I also want to remind you guys to listen to the show every day at 2 o'clock. And if you could do me a favor and tell one friend, I would greatly appreciate it. So yesterday, after talking to Matt Miller, it reminded me of something that Brett Veach said. Now, I'll play both of these things for you, but let's start with Brett Veach, who talked about wanting to add more weapons for this team at running back and wide receiver.
You're a few bad weeks away from having no depth at all. I mean, I know I've always said the story a few years back of that defensive end position where we had a 2 or 3 week span where we lost multiple guys. And, you know, last year, Pacheco got hurt early on, and I mean, we always want to surround Pat with playmakers, and you know, the more talented wideouts you can throw on the field at one time is something important to us, and depth at running back, and look, this kickoff role too. I mean, ideally, you know, it would be advantageous for us to identify a receiver and or running back that has explosive playmaking ability on both ends. Remigio did a great job, but again, we're always pushing the envelope to get 1% better. And if we can add another dynamic element to both return phases, that would be something that would make sense. So it's not just wanting to continue to add explosive playmaking at the running back or the receiver position. It's also the return game.
As I was thinking back to this quote from Brett Veach, there was a player that popped in my head. It's Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden. If you are looking for a dynamic weapon in the passing game, I think he might be the best player in this draft with the ball in his hand. It's in his ability to turn small plays into big plays. If you are looking for a wide receiver that could also help you in the return game, he sounds like someone that could help you. And it got me thinking that we have talked a lot about this team thinking to the trenches, whether it is the offensive line or the defensive line. Matt Miller said that yesterday, that he expects this team to be looking at the line of scrimmage in round 1.
I would love for it to be Luther Burden. I'd be happy with a tight end, you know, like a Mason Taylor at that spot. I'd be happy with a speedy edge rusher. But when we get back to how this team normally drafts, I'm with you. It's probably going to be a defensive lineman, probably going to be a defensive tackle, unless one of those offensive tackles falls. But you know, I don't know, man. Last time they lost the Super Bowl, they got aggressive, and a lot changed in a hurry. And we didn't see that through free agency. So maybe we see it in the draft, you know, with 4 picks in the top 95. Maybe we see some aggressive movement. I had heard 2 weeks ago that they were at least interested in moving up. You know, the last time they were interested in moving up was the Rashee Rice draft when no one would trade with them when they wanted to move up. So we will see what happens.
I think that Brett Veach has sort of built a reputation on being aggressive. He has built a reputation on being somebody who is going to wheel and deal and move up and try to make something shake, whether it's in free agency or the NFL draft. I think you could call the Chiefs offseason a lot of things. I don't think that you could use the term aggressive in how they've handled free agency. it's been business as usual. They have retained a lot of their players. And I'm not saying that's a bad strategy, but it is certainly not aggressive. I would say going for a playmaker, and it doesn't have to be Luther Burden, would be the most aggressive thing that they have done this offseason. Yesterday, we talked about looking ahead and playing sort of the red shirt game, that you could do that with an offensive lineman. But what if, and follow me here, if the Chiefs are looking for a more immediate contribution from their first round draft pick, and they will deal with right tackle or left tackle next year when it is their most pressing and number one need. Heading into this season, left tackle and right tackle are not needs for the 2025 team. They could be for the 2026 team and beyond, but they know who their left tackle is going to be for this upcoming season. They know who their right tackle is going to be for this upcoming season. What if they are thinking about handling this year's draft and doing what Brett Veach said, getting more explosive? We talked about their need to go get a running back, but what if they are also thinking about wide receiver? There's two wide receivers to me that make sense with where the Chiefs are going to be drafting. For whatever reason, the shine is coming off of Luther Burden, and there's multiple reasons why I think that could be. But we are talking about a player who dominated the SEC in his sophomore season, and heading into this past year was viewed to be the best wide receiver on the board. I don't think that's how he's viewed right now. He might be the second or third wide receiver on the board, probably closer to the third. I think that McMillan is going to go ahead of him. I also think that Matthew Golden out of Texas is also going to go ahead of Luther Burden. What about Emeka Egbuka, who has dominated college football the last handful of years? He had a great game a couple of years ago in the Rose Bowl. He is a guy that has won national championships, a guy that has played in a lot of high-level football, and I think has the ability to step in day one and help an NFL roster. As we are getting ready for Thursday in round one of the NFL draft, we've talked a lot about what if they go offensive or defensive line. But you just heard it yesterday from Matt Miller. Some of the top offensive line prospects might be off the board. They're now talking about Kelvin Banks being a top 10 pick. Joshua Simmons might be off the board at that point. If you want them to go edge rusher, that might not be a possibility at 31. So if you were trying to get round one value, maybe round one value for this organization is at wide receiver. Maybe it's at Luther Burden, who is probably one of the 10 most talented players in this year's draft class, but could fall. What if it is Emeka Egbuka that you can't trade back in this year's draft class? You got to make a selection at 31. You don't think the value is there on the offensive or defensive line. So where I think the value could best serve this team, Rob, it could be at wide receiver and taking one of those very good college receivers. You now throw them into the mix, and you also could play the short-term and the long-term game. You have had Hollywood Brown on back-to-back one-year deals. Is he coming back for the 2026 season? We don't have that answer yet. But if you are moving forward with an offense that is centered around a running back draft pick that you are going to make at some point over this weekend, a wide receiver that you pick up in round one, whether it's a Luther Burden, whether it's Egbuka out of Ohio State, you then couple that with the other draft picks that you've made, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, you've really got a very strong nucleus, I would say, of offensive line talent under the age of 30. And you are also building an explosive offense centered around guys who are still on their rookie deal. What if the Chiefs don't view offensive line as maybe the need that we deem it to be, and they're thinking about getting more explosive, trying to get more home run hitters, trying to have a more dynamic and balanced offense than they had last season?
I love the idea. I think it's a great idea. I don't think the Chiefs view round one that way at all. You said it there perfectly. You said the Chiefs have no pressing needs for 2025, but in 2026, they could potentially need a new left tackle, and they will likely, under unforeseen circumstances, need a new right tackle. Those are things we know. Do you know what they're not going to need in 2026? Wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. We know those guys are under contract and on the roster in 25 and in 26. So I think the Chiefs are going to be aggressive with depth and think about 2026 and attack the trenches. Let's flip the other side of the ball. Let's look at the defensive line. where are places that are going to become glaring needs to them in 2026? Because it's not like Amenahu is signed long-term. I believe Mike Dana signed a 3-year deal. He's going into the year 2 of it, so he'll be going to the final year of his contract next year. Do you and I think they're picking up a 5th-year option on Felix? Not really. Next to Chris Jones, they have Mike Pennell, who has value. I'm not trying to run down Mike Pennell, but it's not like he's some dynamic, can't-miss playmaker. And then they lost Tershawn Wharton. They've lost Colin Saunders over the years. They need another body on the interior. I think you're going to see the Chiefs think to 2026, and when you look at their 2026 roster, they have holes on the trenches. So I'd love a playmaker. You'd love a playmaker. Joe Schmo and the Texans love a playmaker because adding Xavier Worthy or Luther Burden is more exciting than Joshua Simmons. I just don't think that's happening on Thursday. Maybe we can have that conversation Monday because on Friday night they had a playmaker, but I don't think when we're singing the landing in Liberty, we're going to be talking about, wow, can you believe the Chiefs added an explosive, dynamic playmaker? I think we're going to be talking about, hey, they got a redshirt lineman.
And I certainly think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that is probably the most likely outcome of this. But I do think, just given where the Chiefs select, you're not very interested in moving up in this year's draft class. And we can talk more about that coming up on the other side of the why. And maybe the value's not there to trade up to 22 or 21 in this year's draft class. So if you're picking there at 31 and you didn't see the value to move up, maybe the pick that you have on the offensive or defensive line is just not going to grade out to be a first-round player at the positions of need that you think. I think you and I are on the same page. I do think the Chiefs are going to draft an offensive lineman at some point. I also think they need to pick up an edge rusher. I think the conversation we're having right now is, are they going to do that in round 1? I still think it is most likely that they are going to go on the offensive or defensive line, but I think there's a chance that they kind of could see the value at wide receiver. And if this draft class is going to kind of push some of those wide receivers down, I think taking Luther Burden at 31, that is a for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think taking Emeka Egbuka at 31 for the Chiefs is an A. You were talking about very productive college receivers, guys who have played at high levels in the SEC and the Big Ten, and you think could instantly come in and help you and build a very balanced wide receiver room with 3 guys under the age of 25 that I think should be very, very attractive to Kansas City. Coming up on the other side, I want to play something for you guys that Todd McShay had to say. Todd McShay doesn't think that there is great value in this draft. We'll play it next. Keep it right here. It's The Drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
If you've been tired of being out in the bad weather or you're just looking for a more stable industry, our friends over at Centric can offer that to you.
What's great is they allow you to work through your schedule. You still need to have the income coming in from your current job while looking ahead to your new career. They have in-person classes, virtual classes. They can get you trained when it's best for you.
Make it easy. Call our buddy Russ Mondry. He's been with Centric for over 16 years and will guide you through every step of the process. If you're looking for that new career, wait no longer. Go to Centric.com.
Some things just go together, like peanut butter and jelly, or a Casey's spicy chicken sandwich and a 49-cent medium fountain drink, or a Casey's breakfast sandwich and a 49-cent fountain drink, or even Casey's limited time Italian deli sliders and a 49-cent fountain drink. You get the idea. It's not crazy. It's Casey's. See store for details.
Honey, it's me, your wife. Spring is here, and our house desperately needs the experts at Powell Exteriors Casey for siding, windows, entry doors, beautiful decks, patio covers, roofs, and more. Get ready for summer at PowellCasey.com.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Wendy's has this new Cajun Crunch chicken sandwich. And to be honest, I'm kind of crushing hard on this Sammy. It's packed with bold Cajun flavors and topped with crispy onions for a satisfying crunch. All on Wendy's iconic spicy chicken sandwich. It's honestly kind of my dream sandwich. I hope it likes me back. For a sandwich you'll love, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location.
Underdog just became one of the best places to make entries during the basketball playoffs with their Extender promo. With the Extender, you can play your way into increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boosts. Underdog is now available to play in Missouri free, and their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. All you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, and you can mix and match across other sports like I like to do. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code BOB to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code BOB. Must be 18 and over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays he takes a little cream. Jennifer comes in every 3 years when her lease is up to get the newer and better model. And for some reason, pepperoni pizza sells like crazy on Friday nights. Who knew? At Odyssey, we have the expertise to get your media plan done right. With ads like you're hearing right now, to targeted social media campaigns, search engine optimization, and location-based advertising. Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. This is 96.5 The Fan, your home for Chiefs football.
Welcome back into the show. I want to play this piece of audio for you guys. This is from Todd McShay. This goes along with a conversation that we were having yesterday about the Chiefs potentially trying to trade up. Before we play Todd McShay, I want to replay Matt Miller for you guys because he expects the Chiefs to draft an offensive or defensive lineman in round one.
I would love for it to be Luther Burden. I'd be happy with a tight end, like a Mason Taylor at that spot. I'd be happy with a speedy edge rusher. But when we get back to how this team normally drafts, I'm with you. It's probably going to be a defensive lineman, probably going to be a defensive tackle, unless one of those offensive tackles falls. But, I don't know, man. Last time they lost the Super Bowl, they got aggressive, and a lot changed in a hurry. And we didn't see that through free agency. So maybe we see it in the draft, with 4 picks in the top 95. Maybe we see some aggressive movement. I had heard 2 weeks ago that they were at least interested in moving up. The last time they were interested in moving up was the Rashee Rice draft when no one would trade with them when they wanted to move up. So we will see what happens.
Yes, we will see what happens with the Chiefs and how they're going to handle round one, which is coming up on Thursday. Highly encourage you guys to stop by and watch the draft with us on Thursday at the Landing in Liberty. So there is an ESPN sort of hypothetical trade scenario that the Chiefs would move up from 31. They'd move to 24. They would trade their own third-round pick. They also would trade a future fourth-round pick to do so. Rob is not in favor of it. He doesn't see the value in this year's draft and trading up with offensive line. Todd McShay of The Ringer, he agrees.
People in the other draft rooms are like, pew, 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 yes, yes.
Right.
Because, yeah, go ahead, take Tet. Take Will Campbell. Because
Right.
I'm talking to teams, and they don't, like, Tet and Will aren't sniffing the very top, where we've got other guys. Obviously, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. But now we got a quarterback who's in not a great quarterback class that no one else is really worried about. Now we've got a wide receiver in not a great wide receiver class that nobody else is really worried where he goes. Okay? Now we got an offensive tackle and a tackle class. I told you, talking to NFL people, 5th or 6th offensive tackle a year ago. Okay? Quarterback would have been 5th or 6th last year. Offensive tackle would have been 5th or 6th last year. Wide receiver would have been 6th last year.
Todd McShay is telling you and echoing the sentiment from almost everybody that covers this year's draft class. There's not a lot of high-end talent in this year's draft class. I think basically once you get outside of Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, I think that might be where the star power in this year's draft sort of ends. Now, that's not saying there won't be good players from this. It's not saying the draft people won't be wrong, because they will certainly be wrong about some prospects. But usually when every draft person is saying the same thing, there's a lot of truth to it. We've seen that when it comes to quarterback drafts. Hey, this isn't a good class. This isn't a good class. This isn't a good class. Then 5 years later, we look back and we think, oh, maybe they all knew what they were talking about. Rob, maybe you are right in that the value in trying to trade up for an offensive tackle just isn't there this year. If you were telling me that Will Campbell, who a lot of people are projecting to be the 4th overall pick to the New England Patriots, if you were telling me that a top 5 pick in this year's draft class would have been the 6th or 7th best offensive lineman last year, that tells me that they are not very high on this tackle class at all. From a wide receiver perspective, McMillan was a great college receiver. You're telling me that last year he would have been behind Rome Odunze. He would have been behind Malik Neighbors. He would have been behind all of those guys, and he would have been the 4th or 5th wide receiver taken, and we think he could go 12 this year, maybe to the Cowboys. I do think they're trying to tell you something about this year's draft class, and maybe trying to take a swing to move up in this year's class. Maybe that's not the right decision because the quality of the prospect is not going to be there to justify the compensation to move up to go get that player.
I feel like me and Todd McShay are in unison here. I feel like I've been saying that back here for a long time. I agree with you in any other draft with that thing ESPN laid out yesterday. Yeah, I would trade based on the draft pick compensation and the sheets and the breakdowns. I would have done that. If Joe Thomas was in this draft, or hey, let's use Armand Mimbo, for example. He's a Mizzou guy. I think he's going to be a good NFL player. If this was any other draft, is Armand Mimbo a top 5, top 10 pick?
Probably not. No.
Probably not. That's the kind of guy that's probably available at 19, 20, 21, 22 in a normal offensive line draft. That's the kind of guy where if it's a normal offensive line draft and ESPN laid out that trade scenario, I'd be back here saying, yes, go up and get Mimbo at 21. But that's not the case for this year. Mimbo's gone in the top 10. Will Campbell, who you just heard Tom McShay say that he's hearing teams don't even have him at the top of their board, he's going to go in the top 15. Some people think he's going to go top 5. I know I come off as I got a hoard picks forever guy, but I think through the vacuum of this year, I think Brett Veach needs to, for the first time in a long, long time on draft night, hold your water. Matt Miller said it on the show yesterday. He said the line between prospect 40 and 14 is pretty marginal in this year's draft. So do not be spending assets to go up and get a guy that you think is only marginally better than a guy you can go back and get, especially at offensive line. Joshua Simmons is flawed. Connerly is flawed. Like, the guys available are flawed. So let's not get aggressive and reach and create an expectation for a guy that we think's just solid. That's how I would treat the draft on Thursday.
Now, I will say this. If that belief holds, what you just said there, then I don't think it's realistic to think that Kansas City is then trading back in the draft. You're probably not going to be able to pick up that value unless Sanders falls and Jackson Dart falls. Now, could this be a scenario how the Ravens got Lamar Jackson? You remember, Jackson was falling in that draft class. The Ravens then moved back into the first round to get the fifth-year option to take their quarterback. Now, I like Shedeur, not a huge fan of Jackson Dart. I don't think that either one of them are the prospect level that Lamar Jackson was coming out of Louisville. But is there going to be a team that is looking at Kansas City in 31? They feel like maybe they need to get ahead of the Cleveland Browns, who have the 33rd overall pick, the first pick in the second round, and they need to jump ahead of them and get the value from Kansas City, and Kansas City is willing to move back. I don't think that Kansas City is going to have a very easy time moving back in this year's draft class. I think a lot of people are going to view the draft the way that you view it. Why are we giving up these extra assets and these extra picks to take a guy that maybe last year on our board we would have had at 51, and now we're going to move up to take him at 31 this year? The value's not there. My biggest worry for Kansas City is what I think they are targeting and what I think they need. I'm not sure if that's going to be there for them at 31. There is, I would say, a range of 3 offensive linemen that I think makes sense for the Chiefs in round 1. I'm not sure if all 3 of those guys are going to be there. If you want this team to add pass rush, I'm not sure if that player is going to be there. And what I don't want them to do, I would say that this is the worst thing that they could possibly do, is pigeonhole themselves in feeling like they got to take an offensive lineman to be prepared for if Jalen Moore doesn't live up to expectations, and also preparing themselves for when Jawan Taylor is off the team, and feel like you got to take somebody on the offensive or defensive line. Because kind of how we got here is pigeonholing yourself in that. Back when the Chiefs drafted Felix Anudike-Uzomah, you know who the first skill position player on the board was that was selected right after Felix? It was Sam Laporta. The Chiefs would be in a better spot if they had drafted Sam Laporta instead of drafting Felix Anudike. They'd be in a better spot. Their offense would be in a better spot if they had made that pick. So that's why, at least when it comes to this, if you don't see the value in the trenches, and Simmons is off the board, Connerly is off the board, you look at the edge rushers, and those guys are off the board, then I want them to take a very talented skill position player and go make it work. And that's why we led the show talking about Burden and Egbuka, 2 guys who, certainly Egbuka, I think he is going to be on the board at 31. I would be surprised if he was off the board. Now, Burden, it could be all smoke, and he ends up going 22nd overall, and he ends up being a surefire first-round pick. I don't think Egbuka is going to be off the board. He feels like kind of like what Felix was. Felix could have went 31 overall to Kansas City. He did go 31 overall, or he could end up going 47th overall, and he falls a little bit in the second round. I could see Emeka Egbuka being one of those kind of prospects. I could see him going 31 to Kansas City. I could see him going 51 to the New Orleans Saints, just because of how up and down the draft process can be if you're going to be a fringe first-round pick but an early second-round prospect.
I feel like, and this is the difficult spot I think the Chiefs are going to be in 2 days. And I don't think it's unique to the Chiefs. I think the whole league's in this position. What you just said about Egbuka, I think applies to like 7 to 10 prospects in the NFL draft. Like the kid from Arizona, Tet McMillan. Everyone's calling him Tet. I'm not going to try his full first name. Tet. I could see a scenario where he goes 31 of the Chiefs. He's a big-bodied receiver.
I think he's going to be off the board by then.
I could see him going at 25. But could you see a scenario where, like, oh, he's like T. Higgins and falls into the second round, early day 2? Like, I could see that for McMillan. I could see that for Egbuka. I think there are players in the running back class that I could see rising up and being a 3rd running back in day 1. I could also see teams being heavy positional value and Amarian Hampton falling into round 2. I think there is a weakness there's a lack of star power, and maybe weakness is a poor term, but just a lack of juice among so many of these guys. That what you said about Egbuka, where he could be picked 25 or 45, I feel like that's the range for like a half dozen different guys because there is no consensus anywhere.
So yesterday on the show, we went back and we played some draft reactions to some of the first-round picks that the Chiefs have made. We're going to do something very similar today. We're going to go back in time and play the draft grades that were given out for these respective drafts. The first one we'll play is the 2019 draft. Here's what CBS Sports felt about that draft class.
The Chiefs are the only team in the AFC West to get anything below a B-. They get a C+. They did trade away a first-round pick for Frank Clark, and they took a really speedy wide receiver in the second round.
Yeah, he can fly, and I understand in their offense with what's going on with Tyreek Hill, he might not be there, that you got to look for speed outside, but I think he's raw. I think there were better options on the board when they picked him. I love the Thornhill pick. He's perfect for what you want in the NFL safety. He's a former corner and moved inside, has the range you want back there. Saunders is a big power defensive lineman. The rest of the draft I did not love, but I think the 2 and 3, the second and third picks that they had there, very good job on those picks.
So going back to 2019, this was the 2019 Chiefs draft. If you remember, the Chiefs didn't have a first-round pick that year because they used that draft pick to help them go get Patrick Mahomes. Seems like very important context. Certainly, you would make that trade 10 times over. In fact, you would have given the Buffalo Bills your 2020, 2021, and 2022 first-round pick if you had known that things were going to go for Patrick Mahomes the way that they have. So the Chiefs had 6 draft selections that year. They drafted Mecole Hardman, Juan Thornhill, Colin Saunders, Rashad Fenton, Darwin Thompson, and Nick Allegretti. Rob, now in hindsight, you just heard the draft grade that was given out back in 2019. Now that we have the ability to hindsight, what draft class or what grade would you have given this 2019 class? Hardman, Thornhill, Saunders, Fenton, Thompson, and Nick Allegretti.
So I do think context is important. Actually, you had your drafts backward. That's not the Mahomes draft pick in the first round. That's Frank Clark. That's the Frank Clark
You're right.
first round draft.
I'm wrong. You're right.
So you got to maybe you're the kind of person that puts Frank Clark as part of the draft class. I'm not that person, but if you want to do that, that's fine.
Yeah, because Mahomes got drafted in 17, so 18 would have been the first round pick. My bad.
No problem. I think Pete Prisco, who is he still a villain in Kansas City? Pete Prisco was a villain in Kansas City for a while. I don't know how that all shook out. Doesn't matter. Pete Prisco, I think, nailed it. Even with the advantage of hindsight, I think he nailed it. Mecole Hardman can fly, and I get why you like him as a prospect, but he's raw. That's exactly what Mecole Hardman was his entire tenure in Kansas City. He could fly, but boy, he showed that he was raw at times. Juan Thornhill, when healthy, was a good safety for this team. I get why they walked on him, but he was a good player. Colin Saunders was a good player in the final year's deal, but, worth the risk in a third-round pick. And from there, it's a lot of just meh. I know Darwin Thompson was in that draft class. He had the greatest St. Joe season of all time, but that does feel like a C+ kind of draft. Even if you add in Frank Clark, who I think never lived up to the contract, that feels like Pete Prisco nailed it.
Going back and thinking about Mecole Hardman's draft pick, it's hard to kind of believe that this player was drafted in the second round. I mean, Mecole Hardman in his 2 seasons at wide receiver had 59 catches for 950 yards and 11 touchdowns and wasn't very involved in their run game. Now, you remember, he got to college as a running back. They converted him to wide receiver, and he was fine. It is a little surprising to me that a team used a second-round pick who really was a project at the position and maybe never took to it fully the way that you had anticipated. That I do think Mecole Hardman, and obviously there are exceptions to the rule, but I think this happens more time than not. Man, you got to take good college players. And I think maybe an example of why Xavier Worthy has had more success early on in his career is Xavier Worthy was a very good college receiver that now you are trying to get him to translate and get that skill set, and he is just starting at a much higher ceiling than that. If you want to put it into context, I mean, Xavier Worthy had more yards in his last season at Texas than Mecole Hardman had his entire time at Georgia. That's not taking his sophomore season or his freshman season into account. Xavier Worthy, as a freshman at Texas, had 981 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy was a really good college receiver that has translated into being a very good NFL receiver. Round 2 is usually just not where you take projects, and I feel like the Chiefs sometimes really look for a certain type, and Mecole Hardman is the type. Quick, fast, can use him in the jet sweep, can use him in the screen game, but I just don't think that he ever really had those wide receiver skills that you really like, and they thought he was going to develop them in the NFL. It just never happened.
It is a what if we'll never, ever get the answer to. But I do wonder a what if with the drama surrounding Tyreek Hill at the time. Would Brett Veach have gone DK Metcalf or made a move to get up and get DK Metcalf over Mecole Hardman? because that has shrouded Hardman's entire Chiefs career. The fact that DK Metcalf is, and me and you earlier this offseason disagreed on what he is as an NFL player, but he is a consistent top 30, just a nice wide number, wide receiver in the NFL. Mecole Hardman has never been that. I wonder if there isn't off-the-field drama and off-the-field speculation about a potential suspension, length of suspension, all the stuff that was surrounding that draft with Tyreek Hill and the KCTV5 tape. If all those things didn't exist, would Brett Veach have said, I already have my 5-0 twitchy, fast, 100-pound something wide receiver, let's be different, let's go DK. I'll never know the answer, but I always wonder how much impact Tyreek Hill's off-the-field life impacted that draft class, because at that time, now maybe I don't know the timeline of you getting all the information for the Tyreek Hill tape, but at that time, the general wisdom was something bad is going to happen to Tyreek Hill in the league, suspension-wise.
Yeah, and to me, though, I think this is just a flawed logic that sometimes I think the Chiefs have specifically looked for a type. Someone on the text line says, you guys forget that this is the year that Tyreek got in trouble. His future was uncertain, and they needed a fast guy. No, they didn't. You don't need a under 6 foot, 180-pound converted running back that wasn't a dynamic college player. You do not need that player, especially when, if you look back, can I read to you the wide receivers that got drafted in round 2? These were the wide receivers that got drafted in round 2 that year. Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, Mecole Hardman, DK Metcalf. So 3 very good college receivers and a project. Mecole Hardman shouldn't have been a second-round draft pick in hindsight. Mecole Hardman is the prototypical 3rd or 4th round pick. There is one trait that you really like about him. You feel like, hey, we're going to take a little bit of a chance here. You can't teach speed. We're going to take a little bit of a flyer, and we're going to see if we can convert him. I just think he was a player that now in hindsight, he was a top 60 pick. I just don't think he should have been a top 60 pick if you were looking at the way that year kind of turned itself out. But, I would say if you're looking at the rest of that draft class, Thornhill turned out to be a good player in the NFL. Colin Saunders has turned out to be a good player in the NFL. And Nick Allegretti is still a starter at this point as a 7th-round pick. I think in hindsight, this is probably a B to B- draft now with the information going back. Mecole Hardman is an NFL player, but never really materialized into being a guy who was worthy of the 56th overall pick. Thornhill is a legitimate starter in this league. So is Colin Saunders, and so is Nick Allegretti. I would say that this is a B- draft now, 7 years later.
So you don't hold the fact that all those NFL starting caliber players that they drafted aren't starting in Kansas City even a little bit against them? We're on the same page about Mecole. Colin Saunders was a one-and-done contract guy and really only had one good year in Kansas City. He's a starting NFL player, but he's somewhere else now. Not because he got the super bag, but because he went somewhere else. Juan Thornhill, I get it was partly because of injury. He's starting somewhere else, or I guess at last check he was. I know he and the Browns were having issues contract-wise. Maybe he got as a cut, I don't know. And then, I don't recall offhand, and then Nick Allegretti is starting games in Washington. Now, again, he's a capable starter, but it's in Washington. You don't hold even a little bit against the Chiefs. The 3 guys they drafted are starting in 3 different locations when you're regrading.
No, I don't, because I would say Thornhill became a positive starter for Kansas City. Saunders was a positive starter for Kansas City, and so was Nick Allegretti. In a year in which you didn't have a first-round pick and you traded it for a player who was very instrumental in you winning the Super Bowl, I don't really know if you were going to really knock this draft out of the park. I think you got a solid draft. I think a B is very, very fair. And now thinking about this, just looking at the text line, when it comes to Tyreek, the one reason why I don't let the Chiefs off the hook for the drafting of Mecole because of everything that was happening with Tyreek is they weren't going to cut him, right? At that point, all of the information was out there. If the Chiefs were going to cut him, we would have known very, very quickly if they were going to cut him or not. We were waiting to see more so if there was going to be a suspension involved with Tyreek Hill more so than anything. And I think you would have to say, at least quietly behind the scenes, the Chiefs had to have some level of confidence, A, to not cut him. And if you also remember that year, they agreed to a long-term extension. That didn't just pop up overnight. I think they were talking about it. They were waiting to see once the dust settled, and then they reached a long-term extension. I think the Chiefs just reached for Mecole Hardman. think they just reached for him. I get it. It was in the middle of everything that was happening, but there was never a scenario in which the Chiefs were going to outright release Tyreek Hill. They were going to hold him and hold him and hold him, and ultimately it ended up working out for Kansas City. I guess you could argue it ended up working out for Tyreek Hill as well. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Denny Matthews, the Hall of Fame voice of the Kansas City Royals. Yesterday, we saw a Hall of Famer at work. We'll talk about it. Keep it right here. It's The Drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
When dealing with erectile dysfunction, you want the right treatment for your specific needs. And every case is different, and finding the right solution can make the difference between okay and amazing. That's why Heartland Men's Health is Kansas City's leader in treating men's sexual health issues. ED can cause anxiety, stress, and a strain in your relationship, yet many men suffer silently without seeking treatment. Intimacy is one of life's greatest experiences, but ED can completely destroy it. Heartland Men's Health offers treatment when herbs and pills don't work. With success rates of over 90%, some treatments can help you last an hour or more, so why settle for good enough? Your first visit is just $99, which includes a medical consult, a T and PSA test, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work, then your visit is on the house. Heartland Men's Health has 3 locations to serve you in the metro: Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City. Pick up the phone today and change your life. Call this number, 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com today.
Hey, it's NBA champion Bill Wennington. It's the best time to be a basketball fan. All the thrills and the playoff drama, done sitting on the sidelines and ready to win some real cash? Check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition, including prize picks. Hit all your picks and score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6 Plus. Even more cash if you outscore the competition.
Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code 965. That's code 965 for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Need to sell your house in Kansas City but not sure where to start? Selling a home can feel overwhelming, especially if you're facing foreclosure, a divorce, an inherited property you don't want, or just need to move quickly. But you don't have to figure it out alone. Rex Buys KC is here to help. As a local home buyer, I understand the Kansas City market inside and out. My family and I live right here, so I know the neighborhoods, the trends, and the challenges homeowners face. That's why I take a consultative approach, helping you explore your options and find the best path forward. We buy houses in any condition, no need for repairs, no agent commissions, and no hidden fees. You'll receive a fair cash offer with a closing timeline that works for you. Whether that's in as little as 7 days or at your own pace, just a simple, hassle-free process designed around your needs. If you're ready to talk through your options, call me today at 816-330-6000 or visit rexbuyskc.com. Let's find the right solution for you. Rex Buys KC. Local, fair, and focused on you.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos, and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
This afternoon, expect sunny skies with a high of 80.
Weather brought to you by Robert Half. Our recruiters' expertise and award-winning AI will find you the skilled candidates you want. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today.
You're listening to The Drive with Carrington Harrison on 96.5 The Fan and the Odyssey app.
All right, coming up at the top of the hour, we are going to be joined by Denny Matthews of the Royals. I want to read something to you guys here really quickly just to show you how quickly things change in the NFL draft and how 1 year out, for the most part, we don't know anything. So someone just pulled this up. A year ago today, you could find the odds for the NFL draft on DraftKings. The number 1 overall pick they had at Shedeur Sanders, it was plus 100 for Shedeur. We are now debating on whether or not Shedeur is even going to be a first-round pick or not, even though I think he will be. Carson Beck, plus 300. He's still in college. He's the quarterback now at Miami. Quinn Ewers was plus 300 to be the number 1 overall pick. Quinn Ewers is not going to go in the first 3 rounds of this year's NFL draft. Drew Aller was plus 850. He's back at Penn State. Jalen Milroe, plus 950 to be the number 1 overall pick if you had done this a year ago. Jackson Dart was plus 1,200. You could have got Cam Ward a year ago to be the number 1 overall pick at plus 1,500. He's now hands down going to be the number 1 overall pick. It just goes to show you how quickly things change in the draft. Shedeur for the number 1 overall pick was always just very, very ridiculous. Carson Beck, I've never seen what they want me to see with Carson Beck. At no point have I seen that he's that kind of guy. Now, there was a time that I thought Quinn Ewers was probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, and if you had told me to bet last year, I would have bet on Quinn Ewers. I was wrong. I thought he was ready to take that next step and was going to be the best quarterback in college football. I'm not even sure if he was the best quarterback on his own team last season. So we'll see how this plays itself out. But a year ago, someone posted the odds, and that's what you could have got if you had looked ahead and tried to bet on the NFL draft. We got Denny Matthews coming up at the top of the hour. Always great to catch up with the Hall of Fame voice of the Kansas City Royals. All right, without further ado, I need my NBA minute tonight. There was such high-level basketball being played yesterday in Denver, Colorado, between the Clippers and the Nuggets. I know some of you have kids that are in junior high. Some of you have kids that are in high school that play basketball. What I want you to do today is I want you to go pick them up from school right now. I don't care. Oh, they got off at 3:30. Go pick them up from school right now. You don't want to hear about their day. I want you to pull up YouTube on your phone, and I want you to show them the Kawhi Leonard highlights from last night. Because these kids think that you got to have some dribble bag and dribble package. You know what Kawhi Leonard is the best in the NBA at doing? I'm going to get to my spot on the floor. I'm going to shoot it, and you cannot guard me. When he's playing like how he was yesterday, he's one of the 5 best players in the NBA. And it is unfortunate that injuries have taken so much greatness away from us with Kawhi Leonard. But yesterday was a friendly reminder of how good he is when he is healthy. He was amazing last night. That's on one side of it. You guys want to talk about that brick that Christian Brown threw up yesterday? Because Christian Brown had a chance to help the Nuggets go up 2-0. Wide open. Had a chance to be a hero. He looked like Carlton in that episode of Fresh Prince. Michael Porter even played kind of well yesterday. He looked like he wanted to be there and rebounded a little bit. A very, very fun series between the Clippers and the Nuggets. I think that's the best series so far in round one. Another thing, and I know I may be going longer than my NBA minute, why do we never talk about the NBA ratings when they're positive? There was a smear campaign toward the NBA in January and February. You guys remember it? We were talking about the NBA like it was on the brink of bankruptcy, like it was going to end. It was the number one story in sports. The playoff ratings are up 17% to start. I even go on ESPN. It's not even on the side headlines. Why do we do this with the NBA? It doesn't make any sense to me. It has been a great start to the NBA playoffs, and I am excited for it to continue. That is my NBA minute for tonight.
Maybe this is me using NFL and football logic and holding it against Kawhi because the NBA and NFL are very different sports. I acknowledge that.
You have to start hating. I feel it coming.
When he's healthy, he's great. But isn't your best ability availability? And he's got marginal availability. Do we think he's having another game like, what do we think more is likely? He misses a game this series or does that again? Because I would bet if you head over to FanDuel, if they would actually take bets on this, he's minus 105 to miss a game this series due to injury.
That's hate.
And he's plus 260 to have that sort of night again.
That's hate.
Because that's the story of Kawhi. And you're right. He'll go into the Hall of Fame, which... good for him.
I mean, he's one of the. I mean, he was on the NBA 75. He's one of the.
Everyone goes in. The NBA Hall of Fame is. No,
I'm saying is he was on the NBA 75.
I know he's
when
getting
Kawhi
in.
Leonard is healthy, he's one of the greatest basketball players we have ever seen.
But that's the thing; he's never healthy.
That's true. I can't argue that.
I feel
at least not with the Clippers. He's never been healthy.
I feel like maybe he's not a what if because he has a title and he's in the NBA 75. That's not fair to call him a what if, but. He's got some what-if energy, because if he was healthy, if his body held up like LeBron, and maybe that's an extreme standard, we would talk about him very, very differently. But the fact that I know it's hate, the fact that I can confidently say, I don't know he's going to play every game this series because of his health, and you really can't push back is a sign of the problem with Kawhi.
You know what? I am going to push back. Did you know that Kawhi has only missed 5 games since Valentine's Day? Now, he was not healthy the first part of the season, like, at all. Like, didn't play in October, November, December. Since he's come back, he has been mostly healthy for the Clippers.
I mean, half a season. Whoop-de-woo.
No.
That half he missed does count. Like, I get what you're saying. He's been healthy since Valentine's Day, and that's impressive because it's a string we've never seen before. But the games in October, November, December, as much as we don't watch them, we don't care about them, they do count. So when we look at his basketball reference page in 5 years, it's not going to show February 14th to April 22nd, played tons of games. It's going to say DNP, October, November, December.
And all of that is fair. He is playing in this series, though. And I think that's going to be enough to get the Nuggets out of here. I do. I picked the Clippers at the beginning of the series. And yesterday, I'm telling you, Kawhi was amazing yesterday. He shot 80% from the floor. He had 40 points yesterday. He only had 1 turnover. I mean, he was incredible yesterday. It was just a reminder that I'm really good at this. And you guys shouldn't forget that I'm really good at this. So far, through the first 2 games of this series, he has been the best player in it. And I would not have guessed that, especially when I think the actual best player in the world is on the other team playing for the Denver Nuggets. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Denny Matthews, the Hall of Fame voice for the Kansas City Royals. The only thought that I have about the Rockies is that they're bad. I don't have any other thought about the Colorado Rockies. Now, some of you kind of speak in internet, so you'll get this. It was like a circle graph chart meme thing. And it was circle all the teams that have had a winning streak this year, circle the team that has not had a winning streak this year. There were 29 teams in one circle. There was only 1 team in the other circle. Every team in Major League Baseball has won back-to-back games so far this season except one. Except one. Take a guess who that team is. It's the team that the Royals are playing this weekend at Kauffman Stadium. I am not saying that the Royals have to sweep the Rockies. I think that is unrealistic. But if there is one thing that I know about this version of the Royals, and I will date this version back to last season, is they pummel bad teams. They are playing a bad team coming up to Kauffman Stadium. I don't want to hear anything. No excuse. Oh, no, none of that. Especially when you got Bubic and Reagans both pitching in this series, and those have been your two best pitchers so far to start this season. There is absolutely no excuse. There is no reason. There's nothing you can tell me that would justify the Royals losing a series to this Rockies team. So beat them. We can deal with bigger fish once we get past Thursday. Once we get to Friday, when Houston comes into town and you got Tampa Bay right around the corner and the Boston Red Sox, sure, we can start to have those conversations. We will not have too many conversations about the Colorado Rockies because they are quite literally the worst team in baseball. And the baseball gods have given you a gift. You should win 2 of these next 3 days. And it would be great if you can win all 3 of these games with a chance to be at or above 500 by the end of this week. And you can make up the damage that you just had this past week where you only won 1 game. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll be joined by the Hall of Fame voice of the Kansas City Royals, Denny Matthews. That's coming up next. Keep it right here. It's The Drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your new home for K-State Athletics, 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040.
The success you've already had matters at University of Maryland Global Campus because we're a school for real life. An accredited state university, UMGC lets you earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning, life, and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer affordable tuition and online and hybrid courses. Classes start May 14th. Apply now and save with no application fee. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Attention car shoppers, Kevin Harlan here with Rob Sight of Rob Sight Ford in South Kansas City. Hey Rob, what's going on?
Hey Kevin, we've got big savings, rare inventory, no pressure. It's simple, and that's how we like it. 2025 is off to a record-breaking start, and we're heating things up while the selection's hot.
Simple is what I love most about Rob Sight Ford. So Rob, what's the plan?
We've got employee pricing on new Fords, up to $14,000 in savings. In the inventory, we've got the hard-to-find models everyone's chasing. And, as always, you still get what sets us apart. A friendly, non-commissioned sales team, massive trade-in values, and the easiest, most hassle-free car buying experience in Kansas City.
That's why Rob Sight Ford is the only dealership I'll send my friends and family to. But you're forgetting one thing.
What's that?
Rob Sight Ford is Kansas City's top-rated Google Ford dealership.
Good call. Can't forget about that. Check out Rob Sight Ford in South Kansas City at 135th and State Line, ROBSIGHT.com.
You can hit the jackpot when you bet NBA on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. And with the playoffs going, and they also have FanDuel's Downtown Jackpot, where you have a chance to win a share of $1 million in bonus bets. All you have to do is place a bet on player-made threes using your exclusive profit boost. And if your player has the most threes on a night, then you'll win a share of $1 million in bonus bets. That's right. It's simple. They shoot and you score. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/KFNZ. Use my promo code FanDuel.com/KFNZ and enter the $1 million downtown jackpot. Make every moment more this NBA playoff season with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA and also 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Prize pool to be split evenly among all eligible participants who made the correct pick. Bonus issue with non-withdrawable bonus bet required 20 days after the street restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Get up with your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Raise the Kansas GamblingHelp.com.
Storm season 2025 is here. Get peace of mind on the health of your roof and make Century Roofing your first call. We have extended our free material upgrade sale on all roof replacements. Get a Class 3 or 4 impact-resistant shingle for the same price of the standard 30-year or premium shingle. Save on your insurance premium and see why we continue to be voted best of Johnson County. Trust the pillars of strength for 35 years. KC-based and female-owned. Century Roofing, KC.com.
Century Roofing. Trust the pillars of strength.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Royals coverage sponsored by Park & Go, the best deals on airport parking.
Step up to the plate and hit a home run with Casey's best airport parking. It's Park & Go. Great service, low price, zero hassle, open 24/7, and all spots are covered. Don't get caught looking. Strike three. Reserve your spot today at bookparkandgo.com.
Hey, it's Cole Riggins, and this is 96.5 The Fan, your home for Royals baseball.
KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, and Odyssey Sports Station.
Welcome back into The Drive on 96.5 The Fan, 96.5thefan.com, and also the Odyssey app. It is always an honor and a privilege to be joined by our next guest. He is the Hall of Fame voice for the Kansas City Royals. Denny Matthews joins us on the show. Denny, how are you doing today?
Couldn't be better, Carrington. Couldn't be better.
Denny, I remember last year you told me that you believe that the Chicago White Sox were the worst team that you've ever seen, which coming from you, that is very high or low praise in this context. When I look at the Rockies, I don't know if they're White Sox bad, but they're real close to being White Sox bad.
I'd say they're close. They're probably not quite to that point. Of course, Bud Black, former Royal pitcher, the manager, Clint Hurdle, is back, and he's working with the hitters. But good guys, both of them, and solid professionals when they played. And you root for guys like that. But no, I think they're not in the same class, but they're not very good either.
I remember one of the quotes you told me, and it's keep a bad team bad, keep a losing team losing. That's kind of how I'm looking at this from the Royals. There's no reason to lose a series to the Colorado Rockies right now. You don't necessarily have to sweep this series. Of course, you'll take it, but that's not a necessity. But you cannot lose 2 of 3 at home to this Colorado team that has not won back-to-back games all season.
No, you wouldn't think so, but who knows? And how many times have you and I talked about how unpredictable baseball is? How about Sunday? The Royals are facing last year's Cy Young Award winner. They've won 1 game on the road trip, which consumed a week and a half. And if you were betting on the former Cy Young Award winner Skubal pitching against the Royals, who are struggling offensively, wouldn't you be more inclined to put a little money on Detroit and Skubal on Sunday? Well, what happened?
They lost.
Go figure again. How many times have you and I talked about this? If you bet or try to predict baseball, you're nuts. You're wasting your time and your money if you're betting.
Denny, the Royals seem to be very, very straightforward. That I think sometimes in sports, and especially in baseball, we try to find all these advanced stats. The Royals are very simple. If the Royals score 4 or more runs, they are very, very difficult to beat. But they are 2-13 when they score 3 or fewer runs. Their pitching is going to give them a chance to win every single game. The question is every day, are they going to get enough offensively to win?
Well, that's the big question, game to game to game. And you got to figure out a way to score 4, 5, 6. If it's so simple, it's just if you can't hit, you can't score. If you can't score, you can't win. So, yeah, they just have to figure out ways to move the offense. If it's more of a running game, hit and run once in a while, move runners, move the defense around when you're moving runners, let balls that are on the ground go through on a hit and run. You've got to do some things to promote the offense, and you can't sit around and wait for somebody to bang a 2 or 3 run home run. It's just not going to happen, and especially in our ballpark, which is not home run friendly. You have to play more or less a running game or move runners and try to create runs, and the Royals are going to have to figure out a better way to do that.
Right now, we're talking to the Hall of Fame voice of the Kansas City Royals, Denny Matthews. Denny, the Royals have Chris Bubich on the mound today. We've talked about it. He has been a very pleasant surprise so far this season. What have you seen from him? What has gotten him off to a strong start?
Confidence. It goes back to last year when he was in the bullpen, and he did pretty well coming out of the bullpen. He found some things. He's more mature. He knows what he has to do. He knows himself now. Yeah, he's just a more confident guy, and you can just see it. Just his mound presence out there will tell you he thinks, I'm in command of this game, and I'm going to win this game, and we're going to be fine. And that's been his motive, I think, from spring training. And again, it goes back to last year, but he's really putting on a great performance this year, and he's done very, very well. And I think it's all about confidence.
Denny, when you look at this Royals offense, are you seeing anybody that's kind of close to turning the corner? There's a stat right now that heading into Sunday's game, everybody outside of Bobby Witt Jr. was hitting a combined 190. You obviously need the supporting cast to be much better than that. Is there a player or two in this Royals lineup that you think is close to turning things around?
Probably Pasquantino and Massey would be the two that jump out at me. But, again, you can't rely on 3 guys to get your offense to the point where you're going to score 4 or more runs. The other 6 have to contribute. And if they don't, you're going to be treading water. And I think once Benny gets into the groove, he's going to be fine. He's the RBI guy. He's going to drive in runs for you, which in the batting order in front of him is going to be on base a lot. India has done fairly well. I think he would like to be doing a little bit better, and if he's on base and then Witt's following him and then you got Vinny hitting well, then that's a pretty good start to an inning.
Right now, we're talking to the Hall of Fame voice of the Kansas City Royals, Denny Matthews, for a couple more minutes. Denny, you have told me to give MJ Melendez a little bit of time. The Royals have decided that he is going to have to figure things down in Omaha. Are you a bit surprised that the Royals made this decision so early in the season and didn't give him another 10, 15 games to try to sort things out here in Kansas City?
No, because they can see things, and they can read his body language, and they can read his swing. They can read his approach at home plate against big league pitching. And this is not unprecedented because everybody's been talking about the fact, well, Mike Moustakas went back to the minor leagues after coming up to the big leagues for the first time. It served him well. And George Brett did the same thing. George came to the big leagues, scuffled, went back to the minor leagues, and then came back. And it worked out pretty well for both of them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my hope with MJ, and a couple just recent examples are this happened with Mike Moustakas. This also happened with Alex Gordon, that sometimes I do think you need to go down to double or triple A to clear your head a little bit, work on some things, and come right back. MJ was a guy that coming into the majors just had so much promise. He was a guy that could play in the outfield. He was a guy that could also catch if you needed him to. I do hope that they can get him right because he's a very athletic player that when he's on could really help this organization.
Yeah, and when you talk about getting things right, most people say, well, the swing and change something here and there mechanically and his setup and his approach at home plate. But you know what? The most important thing is what's going on between his ears. Number one, how is he approaching this stint in the minor leagues? And how hard is he going to work, both mentally and physically? And if you put those two things together, and the spotlight isn't quite as bright down in Omaha as it is here in the big leagues. So that's what happened with Brett and with Alex and with Mike Moustakas. They got themselves right, if you want to put it that way, mentally and physically, came back to the big leagues, had more confidence, took it from there. So you would hope the same thing would be true for MJ Melendez, but what he's thinking and how he approaches things mentally is going to be as important as what he's going to do with his mechanics and with his swing.
That is the Hall of Fame voice of the Kansas City Royals, Denny Matthews, joining us on the show today to get you ready for a 6-game homestand for the Royals. They have the Rockies, and they also have the Houston Astros coming up. Denny, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. We appreciate you.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Carrington.
Absolutely. That is Denny Matthews joining us on the show. Let's take a little bit of a break. We'll get back to the NFL draft coming up on the other side. Keep it right here. It's The Drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison.
This man was a bona fide scrub.
On 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
Whether you're digging a pond, clearing brush, grading property, or doing demo, Foley Equipment, your local Caterpillar dealer, is your one-stop shop. Buy or rent, Foley Equipment has the machines you need to get the job done. And right now, Foley has 0% financing on new cat skid steers, mini excavators, and compact track loaders. Stop by any Foley Equipment location today or visit us at FoleyEQ.com. That's FoleyEQ.com.
I'm sure everyone says this, but my mom really deserves the world. This year, I finally found a Mother's Day gift that comes close. She loves Hellsberg, so I'm getting her these timeless gold earrings she can enjoy for years to come. They feel special enough to show how much I truly appreciate everything she does for me. And I mean everything. I even sent my dad a link to the Diamond Eternity band he'll be getting her, too.
Save up to 50% on Mother's Day gifts Mom will cherish forever. Visit Hellsberg.com or a store near you.
What's up, everybody? Nick Costos here with the Sports Betting Minute, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Please gamble responsibly.
Playoff basketball rolls on tonight. Game 2 in the Western Conference Series between the LA team in purple and gold and Minnesota, winning Game 1 on the road in dominant fashion, looking to take a 2-0 series lead. But LA a 5.5-point favorite, the total sitting 210.5. LA a bigger favorite in this game, despite losing Game 1 than it was in Game 1. And I know a lot of people are going to like LA to bounce back. I don't know if Minnesota's going to win, but I think Minnesota can definitely keep this game close. Love Minnesota's attitude and swagger. So coming up tonight, give me Minnesota plus the points in LA. That's it for this Sports Betting Minute, brought to you by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app and take your game to the next level with the sportsbook born in Vegas. Please gamble responsibly.
BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. So, I wanted to write a thank you note for every dollar Missouri Lottery players have given to Missouri and education. But that would be 8.4 billion notes. So to save a little time and a whole lot of paper, here's just one. Dear every single lottery player in Missouri, thank you for helping us give $8.4 billion to Missouri and education. Sorry, my trumpet's in the shop. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the GPS directions first, before driving to the mall.
Turn right at the light. In 1,000 miles, you will reach Montreal.
Not Montreal, the mall.
Recalculating. 6,000 miles to Nepal.
No, the mall.
Checking first is smart.
Recalculating.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, weekend warriors. How's a little trail therapy sound right now? Hop in. Let's go for a ride in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Tune out all those work emails and turn up that twin-turbo V6 engine. Instead of letting the kids play online, show them some epic inclines. Turn your 8-person family dinner into an exhilarating off-road adventure. The all-new Nissan Armada is here. Intelligent four-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
For more than half a century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment. Not just to protect their tools, but to protect their professional reputations. Whether it's inside or outside of work vehicles, a WeatherGuard badge means pros can trust that their hard-earned name is in good hands. Since 1968 and every day since, WeatherGuard has been protecting anything it takes to build a professional reputation. WeatherGuard, established in 1968, proven every day. WeatherGuard.com.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag with a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, Junior Hot and Crispy Fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California and via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Tonight, expect showers and thunderstorms with a low of 58.
Weather brought to you by Robert Half. Our recruiters' expertise and award-winning AI will find you the skilled candidates you want. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today.
Royals coverage sponsored by Renner Garage Door, forward and back, RENNER.
It's almost Andy Reid. The off-season is a perfect time for a $100 tune-up from Renner Garage Door. Get a free replacement quote today. Call or click rennerdoor.com, Renner forward and back.
RENNER. Here's traffic, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
Only a few slowdowns on your Easter Monday. We've got the northbound lanes of 435 from about 87th Street down to K10. And traffic actually easing up eastbound 70 out of the 435 exchange. I'm Lori Pearson, 96.5, The Fan Traffic.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. This is your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan.
All right, welcome back into the show. My name is Carrington Harrison. Very excited to be here with you on this wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. We are continuing to get you ready for the NFL Draft. Let me remind you that if you want to hang out with all of us, Thursday at the Landing in Liberty, I will be there. Rob will be there. The midday show will be there. The morning show will be there. Everybody will be there on Thursday breaking down round one of the NFL Draft. We highly encourage you to come out, stop by, grab a beer, grab something to eat, talk a little NFL Draft. That is where we are going to be having our watch party for round one of the NFL Draft. Let's get back to the draft. We're going to be joined by the lead analyst at CBS Sports coming up at the top of the hour. We were joined by Trevor Sikkema, who covers the draft for Pro Football Focus. He believes that this is going to be a draft about the trenches for the Chiefs.
Over the last couple of off seasons, really trying to figure out how we solidify the trenches. And this team very much knows that their championship runs were certainly fueled by Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, but also what they're able to do in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So you're replacing Joe Thuney. Obviously, Trey Smith is back, but, it's on a franchise tag type of a deal. So, making sure that the offensive line stays the way that it needs to. You're hoping that Kingsley Suamataia can play well for you at guard, but that's not something that's 100%, or you're hoping that it happens. But you just got to make sure the trenches are as good as they possibly can be. So maybe corners, wide receivers you're taking a look at. Running back, obviously, we touched on, but trenches. It's got to be a big trench draft for the Chiefs.
That was Trevor Sikkema, who covers the draft for Pro Football Focus. We asked Matt Miller, who covers the draft for ESPN, the same thing. He agrees. This is going to be a draft that is highly focused up front for the Chiefs.
I would love for it to be Luther Burden. I'd be happy with a tight end, like a Mason Taylor at that spot. I'd be happy with a speedy edge rusher. But when we get back to how this team normally drafts, I'm with you. It's probably going to be a defensive lineman, probably going to be a defensive tackle, unless one of those offensive tackles falls. But I don't know, man. Last time they lost the Super Bowl, they got aggressive, and a lot changed in a hurry. And we didn't see that through free agency. So maybe we see it in the draft, with 4 picks in the top 95. Maybe we see some aggressive movement. I had heard 2 weeks ago that they were at least interested in moving up. The last time they were interested in moving up was the Rashee Rice draft when no one would trade with them when they wanted to move up. So we will see what happens.
So if you look at their draft history, last year in round 1, they got Xavier Worthy. 2 years ago, they got Felix Anudike-Uzama. 3 years ago, they had 2 first-round picks. They got Trent McDuffie. They also got George Karlaftis, who played defensive end for Purdue. So the Chiefs, for the most part, love to focus in on either the offensive or defensive lines for this team. Rob, I want to get your thoughts on this. If they're going to go pass rusher in this draft class, I'm just not sure if that player is going to be available at 31. I think it is now turning to be more likely that they are going to go offensive line and prepare themselves for the future, other than there being a pass rusher that they really love. Now, maybe this is me buying too much into the pre-draft, mock draft smoke that always comes out around this time, but I think the guys who have real legitimate day one pass rushing juice, I just think they're going to be off the board by the time that the Chiefs pick. We had Matt Miller on the show yesterday. He said that he has 6 guys that have a first-round grade. He thinks that 5 of them are going to be off the board, and the other one just doesn't fit what the Chiefs' defensive scheme and the kind of player that they're looking for. I don't think that that player is going to fall to them in the draft. I could see a scenario in which there's a couple of offensive linemen that they really like that are still on the board. There's going to be some skill position guys, but at least when it comes to the topic of offensive or defensive line, I am now starting to think it is far more likely that they draft an offensive lineman than a defensive lineman in round 1.
In round 1, me and you were on the same page. But I think, and maybe this is me taking too much stock of what Brett Veach said when he met with the media, I believe it was last week. Because remember, Brett Veach called his shot with Isaiah Pacheco. He said during that pre-draft process, there's going to be a running back who's late 7th round pick or undrafted who's going to rush for 1,000 yards. Now, Pacheco hasn't technically rushed for 1,000 yards, but he's been a very productive back. So maybe this is me over being all in on what Brett Veach had to say. But he talked about running back being deep and D-end being deep. So I agree with you. There might be only 5 or 6 guys with round 1 grades. The Chiefs might be going O-line on Thursday night. We might be, leaking out of the landing in Liberty. See the alliteration? You like that? We might be doing that and talking about Joshua Simmons or a player like that. But I think by the time you wake up on Saturday morning and, you're hanging out, doing whatever on draft weekend, may listen to Bink and Uno Cero on the station, the Chiefs will have added an edge rusher, and it's going to be a guy that we think can be impactful because Brett Veach says it's a good D-end draft. Maybe it's Shamar Stewart, the guy who was a highly thought-of recruit, didn't produce high at A&M. He's used as a second-day guy now. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's Mike Green, the dude from Marshall, falls down. I don't know the name, but I think in the 2nd or 3rd round, whether it be with the Titans pick or they use the Titans pick to get up, they are going to get an edge rusher early in this draft, just maybe not round 1.
I think what is probably most interesting about the Chiefs, if you were looking at it, because I would say for the most part, the Chiefs draft just doesn't have a lot of sizzle this year because they don't have one glaring need, and we're talking about them drafting a offensive or defensive lineman. It's not like last year where it was obvious they needed a wide receiver. It's just a more fun conversation to have. I think the intrigue with the Chiefs this year in the draft is they have pick 63. They also have pick 66. That gives them a lot of things that they could do. The Chiefs could trade up if they would like and still keep one of those 2 picks. The Chiefs could use the 66 pick, move back a little bit because they made a selection at 63, and also pick up some more valuable picks to just take more swings. If you are looking at how the draft is coming together, I mean, the Chiefs have 31, 63, 66, and 95. So for a year in which the Chiefs maybe don't have a lot of premium picks, to have 4 picks in the top 100 is pretty good. And if you are buying what a lot of the draft people are saying, sure, maybe this isn't a draft if you're looking for a star, but if you're looking for solid contributing players that can turn out to be starters for your team, this is a really good spot to find them. Well, then go find a defensive tackle starter, someone that you think for the next couple of seasons can play alongside Chris Jones. If you're looking for a starter, I would say start the process of looking ahead to when Hollywood Brown is going to be off the team, and find yourself a guy that can be a starter for you at wide receiver. It is funny because I was thinking this as we were kind of going through some past drafts, and I'm looking at, how drafts have come together. The Chiefs have never hit on a mid-round draft pick at a skill position. I guess you could argue Noah Gray, but running back or wide receiver, either they've never taken them or they've just outright missed on them. They've never drafted a player like Dontavian Wicks, for example, from the Green Bay Packers. A good wide receiver with some upside, with some promise, but you've never spent a premium pick to go find him because you kind of know what he is. I would love for the Chiefs at 95 to maybe they're not going to address wide receiver early on. I don't think they need to address wide receiver. But at 95, there's a wide receiver that you really like. And instead of in free agency, you're going out and you're finding those one-year veteran deals. You can address that by a third-round pick, a guy that you're not anticipating being a 1 or 2, but a guy that completely rounds out and gives you a more well-rounded room as you have Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice on a rookie deal. So I think the fact that the Chiefs have 4 picks in the top 100, I think gives them a whole lot of versatility about what they can potentially do. But I think you and I agree on this. I mean, if you're looking for a guy that you think can eventually project to be a starter on the O-line or a guy that you think can give you some pass rush juice, you're not doing that with pick 133. The Chiefs don't have a pick in rounds 5 or 6. So it is basically those top 100 picks and then a pretty big gap where you go 133, 226, 251, and 257. If you're finding a guy that you think can help you for this upcoming season, you will probably doing that in the first 100 picks.
I agree with you. And we were actually talking about it in the back before the show today. The Chiefs draft lacks a lot of intrigue. Like in the best way possible, the draft is boring for Chiefs fans because we're talking about O-line, D-line, depth. Me and you opened the show talking about keep an eye on Jawan Taylor's replacement because he'll be off the team in 2020. Like, that's not exciting. That's not a lot of sizzle. But if there is a year where you want to be in the Chiefs position, I think it's this year. Everyone is saying, and I use Daniel Jeremiah as the example, Daniel Jeremiah keeps saying it's a starter, not a star draft. Well, the Chiefs have 3 top 100 picks. You better cash in on 2 or 3 starters. I don't need you to find Travis Kelce again. It'd be great if in the 3rd round you drafted the next Travis Kelce that you did back in 2013. But you know what? You need guys that we are talking about here in 3-4 years as starters. Dontavian Wicks is a great example, but there are players all across the NFL. Find a nickel corner. Find the Rashad Fenton type. I know he was a 6th rounder. Find that guy where for 4 years you get the best out of him. Find a guy who in the 4th round, hey, maybe, I know Jared Wiley was hurt last year, but instead of Jared Wiley, they bring in DJ Giddens in the 4th round, and suddenly you have a dynamic running back for 4 years. If the draft is boring, the Chiefs are perfectly positioned to thrive in that boredom because they have so many top 100 picks and they can get starters. And the lifeblood of dynasties is starters in the draft. So you're not having to sign Hollywood Brown. You're not having to go figure it out with Elijah Mitchell. You get those quality players on your roster and it helps you massage the cap going forward. I know the draft is boring, but it's a good year for it to be boring because it's boring in the way the Chiefs should operate.
I want to play for you guys the draft grade for the Chiefs back in 2019, and we'll give it a new grade.
The Chiefs are the only team in the AFC West to get anything below a B-. They get a C+. They did trade away a first-round pick for Frank Clark, and they took.
We played that one earlier. My apologies. I will play the 2022 one. My bad. I hit the wrong one.
Football player after football player after football player. If you go down their list, and you got McDuffie, you got Karlaftis, you got Sky Moore, you got Brian Cook, you got Leo Chanel. All these guys are very good football players, and I thought Brian Leach did a great job through this draft, adding pieces to this already talented Kansas City roster.
A+. I mean, plus. And you talk about being a tough grader. They just check after check after check. Bills needs with not only players, not only warm bodies, with guys that can contribute. Joshua Williams is a high upside kid out of Division II, Fayetteville State. Showed it, held his own at the combine, but he is long. He can play corner, and that's a traits guy that you draft on day 3. Darian Kennard, right tackle at Kentucky. He's going to kick inside to the next level. Had a great season against a ton of SEC competition. I thought he might go higher. He ended up going here, a guy that can help you in terms of depth. And then Karlaftis and Sky Moore, all the guys that you need to fill the void. You're not going to fill the void by yourself in terms of Tyreek Hill, but players can come and contribute and make that team better on both sides of the ball. I love what they've done.
So these were the selections for the Chiefs in 2022. They got Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis in round 1. They got Sky Moore in the second round. He was the 54th pick. They also got Brian Cook. So the Chiefs just had more premium assets that year. You have 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks because of the Tyreek Hill trade. Very different situation than they find themselves in. I know that they have 4 picks in the top 100, but I think most people would agree that's a lot different than when you have 21, 30. You also have 54 and 62. A little bit of a different scenario than the Chiefs are in heading into this year's draft. They also got Leo Chenal, Joshua Williams, Darian Kennard, and they had 3 seventh-round selections, Jalen Watson, Isaiah Pacheco, and Najee Johnson. The fact that the Chiefs turned all 3 of their 7th-round picks into contributors for their team is a testament to their staff and their scouting department. That's really difficult to do. Now, none of those guys turned out to be stars, but Isaiah Pacheco is a proven running back in the NFL, in my opinion. Jalen Watson is certainly a player worthy of being in your cornerback rotation, and Najee Johnson, it just kind of is what it is. Now, I don't think that this draft is too realistic, at least if we are putting it alongside this year's. They just simply had more picks that year than they do. So they just had more chances to take swings. And sure, they missed on some like Darian Kennard, but they also hit big, I would say, in some other spots. I think this is a great draft class. I think they had that vision early on, and you just heard it in the clip that we played. I also think it played out that way. I think this is an A draft.
I felt at the time that was a really good draft. I feel better about it now, obviously the advantage of hindsight, but outside of the big 3, Kelsey, Mahomes, Jones, is everyone that has led to the Chiefs Super Bowls coming from that draft? Isaiah Pacheco is your starting running back. I know we want to add more dynamicism to the room. He's your starting running back. You got 3 of your 3 I guess now Fulton's in the fold, but you got 3 starting caliber corners in that draft. You got your D end in that draft. You got a starting linebacker in that draft. You got your starting safety in that draft. Like, when we look at the Chiefs dynasty or part 1.5 or 2, however you want to shake it out, with the Eagles win and the second Niners win, isn't outside of that big 3 all the contributing factors that you had said play a major role coming from this draft class? That's check, and A+ might be too low of a grade.
Someone on the text line 913-586-7965. CDOT, doesn't the lack of a 5th or a 6th round pick argue for not trading up? You should keep those picks and get 3 or 4 future starters. If the Chiefs get 3 or 4 future starters out of this year's draft class, they are wizards. I mean, I'm just looking at it. 31, 63, 66, 95, 133, and then you got 3 in the 7th round. I think it's going to be hard to make magic work like that. Maybe at least my draft strategy would be for this one. Now, I'm not against trading back, picking up more picks, taking more swings at the board, all of those things. I would maybe focus in on a couple of things, and I would just try to take some higher-end prospects in this year's draft class and players that you really like. I don't know if it's realistic for Kansas City to think they're coming away with 4 starters in this year's draft class. I don't think they need to come away with 4 starters in this year's draft class. I think it was a lot different when you go back to 2022 where you had 11 picks. If you're going to give me that many swings and 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, you can't miss when you have those. So I'm looking at the Chiefs, and I think what's maybe more important to them is I'm really curious how they handle 63 and 66. The Chiefs are not in too many positions of power just because of how good of a team they are and the way the board settles. Like, pick 95 is not super valuable. You can do a lot with the 63rd and 66 overall pick. You can package both of them and move up to really get a player that you love. You can make the 63rd overall pick. You kind of still control the board a little bit. You can now move back at 66. Let's say you now get 75 and you pick up another draft pick. I think them having the flexibility where they have 2 picks within a very, very tight window it gives them the ability to control the board for an opportunity that the Chiefs very rarely get in the draft. I would say they haven't really had that since 2022 because they had so many premium assets and premium picks. If you got 2 first-round picks, you can do exactly what they did. Well, we really like Trent McDuffie. Let's move up to go get Trent McDuffie. We're fine taking some of these assets because we have so many of them. So I think they just were in a different position. But again, because they have 63 and 66, I think it gives them flexibility in this year's draft class. And that's really the only place that they have it.
I think me and you agree that it's unfair to compare what's coming up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday to that 2022 class that was just beyond a home run. But I know that 31 and 95 aren't sexy names, but if you got 4 picks in the top 100, I think you need to walk away with 2 starting quality players and one in year 1, and maybe a guy in year 2 jumps up. So maybe that they use Joshua Simmons in round 1. Now he's not starting quality in year 1, but year 2, 3, and 4, he's a starter. But it just boils down to the way me and you view the draft differently, but I don't think you can have 4 picks in the top 100 and walk away being like, we got solid depth positions because that's the way the board shook out. They need to pull starters. They'll never pull what they did in 2022. That was just outlandish, and they hit every one except for Sky Moore. But they got to walk away with starters. We got to be talking about, man, can you believe pick 66 is doing X on the field? Or they turned pick 66 into this, who's doing X on the field. It can't be, conceptual Felix Anudike-Uzama. Hey, we got redshirt year guys. You have too many picks in a hot zone of 0 to 100 to walk away with just 1 or less starting quality NFL players.
I want to talk about this for just a little bit, and we'll get back to the draft here coming up in a bit. And we're also going to have Mike Renner of CBS Sports join us on the show. I know that we are very focused on the draft right now, and we should be. That's the next part of the NFL offseason calendar, and we are all looking forward to it. I think the number one storyline after the draft is concluded is what is San Francisco going to do with Brock Purdy? So San Francisco is starting their offseason workouts. Brock Purdy is scheduled to be there, even though he is in line for a new contract. George Kittle is not in line to be there. He was just at WrestleMania. So it sounds to me like George Kittle is kind of hanging out and enjoying his time and knowing that a new contract is going to come at some point this summer, but also understanding, hey, this is optional. This is voluntary. I don't need to be there. Now, the priority number one is going to be what is going to be the future of Brock Purdy. I have no clue what the contract for Brock Purdy looks like. I don't think you can pay Brock Purdy like a top quarterback, even though I think a lot of what he's accomplished on the field warrants him to be paid like a top quarterback. But if you're Brock Purdy, I think it is disrespectful for you to take the Baker Mayfield deal, which, yeah, you get a lot of money, but you are closer to Jalen Hurts than I think you are with Baker Mayfield. I think that Brock Purdy is one of the more difficult contracts that we have had in quite some time in the National Football League, because I just don't know how you accurately kind of line him up with the other quarterbacks. You can't pay him like he's Mahomes. You can't pay him like he's Josh Allen. You can't pay him like that. But I also think it's disrespectful to pay him like he's Geno Smith too. He's probably somewhere right there in the middle, but it's not just the compensation for him. It's how you handle the rest of your team. It's how you handle the rest of your roster. And I like Brock Purdy, but we have enough evidence that suggests, hey, if somebody's going to be injured on this team, he is a drastically different quarterback. If you're not going to have Christian McCaffrey healthy, can you trust this quarterback to be an elevator? If Trent Williams is not here, what does that mean for Brock Purdy? We saw last year when they had big wide receiver injuries. Now, heading into this year, they don't have Deebo Samuel. They're probably not going to have Brandon Ayuk for the early part of the season. What does that mean for the San Francisco 49ers? It is funny sometimes in the league how quickly things can turn around and how quickly things can change for you in the National Football League. But, man, things have changed very, very quickly for the San Francisco 49ers. Just a year ago, they were in the Super Bowl. They were leading in the fourth quarter and had a chance to win a championship. And now, I don't want to say that they've completely torn down everything that they've built, because they still have a pretty good foundation. But this absolutely feels like a transition year, And I would say the hardest decision of any team in the National Football League. How do you pay Brock Purdy? I think they are going to pay him. What does that contract look like? How does it structured? What flexibility does it give you to keep the talent around Brock Purdy that I think he needs to continue to play at a really, really high level? Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll be joined by Mike Renner of CBS Sports. We'll keep talking NFL draft. Let me give you guys a handful of NFL draft bets that I really like for Thursday. We'll do that next. Keep it right here, so drive.
Hey, it's Lucas Ursig from the Kansas City Royals. You're listening to The Drive with CDOT on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
If you've been tired of being out in the bad weather or you're just looking for a more stable industry, our friends over at Centric can offer that to you.
What's great is they allow you to work through your schedule. You still need to have the income coming in from your current job while looking ahead to your new career. They have in-person classes, virtual classes. They can get you trained when it's best for you.
Make it easy. Call our buddy Russ Mondry. He's been with Centric for over 16 years and will guide you through every step of the process. If you're looking for that new career, wait no longer. Go to Centric.com.
As America's leading business lender, Bank of America is on your corner and in your corner, right here in Kansas City. With $215 billion in business loans and over 3,700 business specialists across the nation, we help businesses thrive so communities prosper. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA Club World Cup 2025. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Here's today's six-man picks, presented by DraftKings Pick 6.
It's a pivotal game 2 in the East tonight. Consider picking Pascal Siakam to have more than 20.5 points. He's been hot of late and figures to get a lot of scoring opportunities in this one. In the West, all eyes are on Julius Randle to have more than 16.5 points. He knocked off some rust after returning from injury in Game 1, and wouldn't be surprising to see him up his offensive performance significantly in Game 2.
Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and lock in your picks before tip-off with code MyPicks. That's code MyPicks for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void or prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
And Doug. Quickly, Moo. We don't have much time. This Liberty ad is already almost over. We only have a few precious seconds to remind people to customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Okay.
Well, I guess we had more time than I thought.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Red Hot Car Giveaway. Only at Harris, Kansas City. Saturday, April 26th, one lucky winner will win a brand new Red Hot Lexus ES350. Harris is giving away $2,500 in free play every 15 minutes from 7 p.m. till 10:45 p.m. At 11, 2 winners will receive $5,000 in free play, and one person will win $10,000 cash. And one person drives home a brand new Lexus ES350. Visit our website for full details. 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6812. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6812. That's 800-575-6812.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
For more than half a century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment. Not just to protect their tools, but to protect their professional reputations. Whether it's inside or outside of work vehicles, a WeatherGuard badge means pros can trust that their hard-earned name is in good hands. Since 1968 and every day since, WeatherGuard has been protecting anything it takes to build a professional reputation. WeatherGuard, established in 1968, proven every day. WeatherGuard.com.
You know what's better than a limited time deal? An unlimited time deal. That's why the Wendy's $5 biggie bag with a junior bacon cheeseburger, 4-piece nugs, junior hot and crispy fries, and small soft drink is available all the time. Because the best time for fresh, never frozen beef and Applewood smoked bacon is all the time. Duh. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Unlimited time does not mean forever. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California and via third-party delivery. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
This report is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts, your professional parts people.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here's traffic, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
Car crash still closing the left lane, 635 southbound right at State Avenue. Working and getting that cleared out. We'll let you know as soon as we get word that it is. And just a few brake lights headed 435 eastbound out of 69 Highway. I'm Lori Pearson, 96.5, The Fan Traffic.
Hey Kansas City, it's Michael Waka. Welcome into The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan.
Rob, you know what? You're going to laugh at me for this. I actually think days like today are really good days to go out to the stadium. The weather is good. You know that you're going to be able to find a cheap ticket for a pretty decent location. And it's also $1 hot dogs tonight if you go out there. Now, I'm not expecting there to be a rush at the stadium. I don't think they'll get to 17,000 people out there today. But those quiet games where it's a Tuesday night and they play a team like the Rockies that you can get a good seat for 10 to 15 a ticket, those are actually good games to be at.
I like those games better in the summer just because, like, I like it a little bit warmer, but Tuesday at the ballpark, that $1 dog. I've been to a Tuesday already this year. $1 dog is just, it's a great deal. I mean, I don't know how more people don't take advantage of it, but this show's not allowed to talk attendance, so we will move on.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is not you guys should be going out there today. I mean, it's a Tuesday and they're playing the Rockies and they're not really scoring a lot of runs. I understand if you're choosing to stay at home for this one, but if you are planning on going out there today, I mean, it's 80 degrees. It's supposed to rain the rest of the week. I mean, this might be the best game all week, the best chance you got to go out there. I mean, they're talking about rain just being a theme of the rest of the week. But the Royals got a good chance of winning today. It's 80 degrees outside. It's $1 dogs. It's a quiet night out the ballpark. You're going to have room to kind of spread out a little bit. I don't know, man. Today might be a good day to head out to the ballpark. We'll be joined by Mike Renner coming up at the top of the hour. He covers the draft for CBS Sports. We will go through some of the top storylines and get you ready for round one and the Kansas City Chiefs draft. Before we do that, I want to give you guys a handful of draft odds that I really like. Now, I am not a mock draft expert by any means, but you know what? I do look and pay attention and keep up with these mock drafts. I think I'm a little bit of an expert. Hit me, Rob. This is my favorite bet of the entire round one. You got a chance to get Armand Membu plus Tyler Warren to go in the top 10 at plus 120. I think that Membu is probably going to go off the board at 6 or 7. I think that Tyler Warren is going to go number 9 overall to the New Orleans Saints. Or if he doesn't go to the Saints, I think that Genty is going to be off the board. And I could see the Bears taking the best tight end in this year's draft class as they continue to try to give their quarterback more and more things. So right now on FanDuel, Armand Mimbu plus Tyler Warren to both be drafted in the top 10. You can get that right now at plus 120. That is my favorite bet of the NFL draft process. Speaking of draft, yesterday we had Matt Miller on the show. Rob, where did he say that he believes that Ashton Jeanty is going to go?
Top 5.
He believes that Ashton Jeanty is going to go top 5. You know what? You can get Ashton Jeanty to be drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars at plus 150. You also can get Mason Graham to be drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars at plus 200. So one of those two guys is likely going to be the pick, and you're getting plus money on either one. I'm going to ride with Matt Miller, and I'm going to take Ashton Jeanty plus 150. I'm only interested in taking plus money for the NFL draft. I'm not paying the juice on the draft. I'm also not betting big on the draft just because we're just fun. I'm only taking plus money. Give me Ashton Jeanty number 5 overall at plus 150, or you can go Mason Graham if you want to, plus 200 as well. The other thing that I'm going to take is I'm going to take 2 separate bets on Shedeur Sanders. So I would take $10 and I'd put them on the Steelers at plus 280. I would also take $10 and I would put it on him to be drafted by the Browns at plus 360. So you got $20 in. You would get $38 back if he gets drafted by the Steelers. You would get $46 back if he gets drafted by the Cleveland Browns. I think that is a good place to put your money. Those are the bets that I like most for round 1 of the NFL draft.
Man, this is bad by me to say. I do not like betting the NFL draft. It's just too much of a crapshoot for me. I agree with you. If I'm going to bet it, I'm betting plus money. But I feel like everyone says they know, and and then a Michael Penix happens, and you're like, what is happening? Or the Jags are always good for this, to take a very random player and you're like, you start chasing the money a little bit. I understand why people bet the draft, but it feels like a sucker bet whenever I start really thinking about it.
Text line 913-586-7965. C-Dot, how much time are you guys going to spend on this draft? Can we cover anything else? Who cares? It's all nonsense and wasted air. The Royals are 9-14, and you guys hate the NBA playoffs. I don't know what you want us to do. You guys want a preview of Royals and Rockies? I'm happy to preview Royals and Rockies for you guys. You guys want to talk about the NBA playoffs? So I'm excited. If you guys want 4 hours of wall-to-wall NBA playoff coverage, I'm fully prepared to do that tomorrow. We don't got to talk about the draft at all at 31. You let me know, text line, what you want me to do. I'm here to make you guys happy. You know what? Let's talk a little Royals and Rockies here. We will not talk about the trash draft. It is nonsense. All right. This is just real simple to me, at least with the Royals. You have to beat this team. I guess at least maybe for today with the Royals is I don't really know what to say other than what we all know about the Royals at this point. The Rockies are terrible. Like, it is not close between them and who you think the second worst team in Major League Baseball is. I know it's early on in the season, but run differential still is a thing to me. The Rockies' run differential is minus 51. The next closest team is minus 28. Like, they are the worst team in baseball, and they are running laps around who you think the second best or second worst team in baseball is. They're not good. They're not good. I don't know what else to say. They're not good. Like, at all. Like, not even a little bit good, in fact, to do that. So this week is very, very simple to me. All I want from the Royals is a very simple pass or fail. Simple. A very simple pass or fail. You have to win 2 or 3 against the Colorado Rockies. Especially when Reagan's goes on Thursday, so you should have the decided advantage on Thursday, and you got Chris Bubich, who has been your second best pitcher. You have to win this series. I don't want to hear it's early. I don't care how the rest of the offense is going. I don't care about any of those excuses. You have to beat the Colorado Rockies. And it will not be an overreaction from anybody if this team, who basically lost all last week and really only won because of like a weird bloop single on Sunday, if they then couple that with an off day and they come back home and they lose a series to the Rockies, I am telling you, once we get done talking about the actual selections in the NFL draft, the panic button will be pressed, at least by me. The Rockies haven't won 2 games in a row this season. We've been playing baseball now for a month. They haven't won 2 games in a row. They're bad. Beat the Rockies. Rob, could you name one player on the Rockies?
Who's the guy that Vern said yesterday? Tovar. Boom, nailed it. Before Vern said his name yesterday, I would have none. No Rockies. The Rockies are the White Sox of last year. Their record might end up being better because the White Sox were historically bad, but this is no one's demanding a sweep, but we can't on Friday be talking about you lose a series of the Rockies. That's horrific. I don't even care if it's 2-1 every game. Just win the series.
People on the text line are offering up suggestions instead of talking about the NFL draft. That guy said back, you should talk sports, find material. It's not our job. We were talking about the NFL draft, and you said we shouldn't talk about it. So I feel like we were doing that. Someone else says, you talk about the former Jayhawk that just won the Boston Marathon. Someone else says, what about the NHL playoffs we should be talking about? I'm telling you that if the responsibility for me to come in here is to talk about the Boston Marathon and the NHL playoffs, we got unlimited PTO at this job. I'm just going to take that day off. Y'all got it. Lance, you got it. Bink, you got it. I don't want to be here that day. Whatever his name is. I'm not going to be here that day. Not at all. I'm just not here that day. I got other things I can do. Are you watching the NHL playoffs?
I'll watch the Stanley Cup finals, kind of like the same way I watch the Nations Cup. I'll watch the highest level, but the 1 versus 8, no, I'm good.
I don't think there has ever, I'm being serious, I don't know if there has ever been a time in which the NHL playoffs have gone on my television. I can't think of the time that's happened. It's just not really my thing. If you watch it, that's great. I've no issues. That's not really my thing. You know, the same way that you guys like, oh, I can't get into the NBA because I don't have a team. I don't understand hockey. I've never been to a game before. I don't know any of the players. Someone on the text line said, you guys seriously can't name a player on the Rockies? Absolutely not. Not even a little bit. No, not at all. I'm not here to lie to you guys about anything. I can't name a single player on the Colorado Rockies. I don't know if I need to be able to name a player on the Colorado Rockies. They're terrible. And I will never talk about or think about the Rockies past, not even on Thursday. We got 2 days of Rockies talk in our life, and then they're gone. They're gone for forever. Please stay away from us. Coming back at the top of the hour, we'll be joined by Mike Renner to talk about the draft. Keep it right here. It's The Drive.
You're listening to The Drive with Carrington Harrison.
For the first time in a long time, I'm willing to dream that this can be a special season for the Missouri Tigers.
Brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this. 96.5 The Fan. Here's traffic, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
There is that 2-car crash now off to the shoulder of southbound 635 right at State Avenue. Seeing slow down southbound 35 from 7th Street Traffic Way through Southwest Boulevard. Also some brake lights into downtown northbound 35. I'm Lori Pearson, 96.5 The Fan Traffic.
One of the busiest times of the year is here, and Smokehouse Barbecue is going to make things a whole lot easier. Grad parties, Mother's Day, and baseball. For your grad party, you can pick up carry-out or have it delivered. Smokehouse also has banquet rooms at each location for your grad party. Bring mom to Smokehouse for Mother's Day and treat her to the best barbecue in town. And if you're heading to a ball game, grab Smokehouse carry-out and take it to the game. Check out Smokehouse Barbecue in Independent, Zona Rosa, or Gladstone, and at SmokehouseBBQ.com. It's Smokehouse Barbecue.
Rawhide Harley's dedicated team of finance experts are ready to get you approved. Credit so bad your mama won't lend you money?
I love you, dear, but hell to the no.
Then let the Credit Rebuilders of Kansas get you approved at Rawhide Harley. 100% of all credit applications considered. See rawhideharley.com.
On approved credit.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. With 56 million winning tickets last year, anyone can win big. So set your destination to winning, like gas stations, grocery stores, or anywhere you can buy a ticket. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
What's up, everybody? Nick Costos here with the Sports Betting Minute, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Please gamble responsibly.
Playoff basketball rolls on tonight. Game 2 in the Western Conference Series between the LA team in purple and gold and Minnesota, winning Game 1 on the road in dominant fashion, looking to take a 2-0 series lead. But LA a 5.5-point favorite. The total sitting 210.5. LA a bigger favorite in this game, despite losing Game 1 than it was in Game 1. And I know a lot of people are going to like LA to bounce back. I don't know if Minnesota's going to win, but I think Minnesota can definitely keep this game close. Love Minnesota's attitude and swagger. So coming up tonight, give me Minnesota plus the points in LA. That's it for this Sports Betting Minute, brought to you by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app and take your game to the next level with the sportsbook born in Vegas. Please gamble responsibly.
BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Ring the bell. We've done it again. Golden Oak Lending has lowered rates to 4.875 fixed. Lower your monthly payment, get cash out, pay off credit cards, and best of all, make no mortgage payments for 2 months. Lock in this incredible 4.875 rate and get your cash in as little as 14 days. Call 913-890-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing, cured my blues.
5.81 APR, FHA, 15-year, 20% equity qualified credit. Additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
The amazing regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics provided relief for former pro football player Bobby Carpenter. Imagine the potential for your aching joints.
So my knee had been bothering me for a while. I played football for a number of years. I looked at, talking to some doctors, would I need to potentially have surgery? And I decided, hey, let's check out QC Kinetics. I go in there and they look at the knee. Hey, here's the program that we can put you through.
That treatment takes your body's own healing properties and concentrates them at the root of the pain. No surgery or downtime.
The best part was there's no recovery until one day I felt like, hey, this feels like my old self again. I feel better. It's helped me. It's helped my dad. Hopefully it will help you in the same way. My message to them is do not wait. So you can go out and play golf and do the things that you love and enjoy.
Take it from Bobby Carpenter. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
This report is brought to you by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka in Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka in Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Proud partner of the Kansas City Royals. Each can of Surfside is only 100 calories. And the best part, 0 bubbles. Grab it at the Cave or ask for it at your favorite bars and liquor stores.
Join us for the Fans Draft Party on Thursday, April 24th from the Landing in Liberty. We'll be broadcasting live, plus your chance to win $965 and an autographed Chiefs helmet in our draft contest. KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
Let's head to the phone lines right now to be joined by Mike Renner. He covers the NFL draft for CBS Sports. There certainly is a lot happening in the draft. Mike, appreciate you popping on today, man. Really appreciate your time.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we'll split this thing up just a little bit. We'll do a little bit national. We'll also do a little bit local here and focus in on the Chiefs. Let's start with the national storyline, which is Shedeur Sanders. I have no clue what's going to happen. You could tell me that he goes number 3 overall to the Giants, and I wouldn't be totally surprised. You could tell me that Cleveland trades back into the first round and selects him. You can tell me that he goes to the Browns. There are so many different possibilities. What do you think happens with Colorado's quarterback?
I think he falls. I don't think he falls outside of the first round entirely, but I do think he falls into that part of the mid-20s where all of a sudden you have all those teams that passed on him in the first round who still could use a quarterback or still are in the market. All of a sudden it becomes more enticing for them that they didn't have to pass on like a Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter or this blue chip player, and they could still get a potential franchise quarterback. Just because I know my eval on him, not a first round grade. I know the evals on him of people I trust at that position, and none of them have first round grades on this guy. And when that's the case, it's like rare that a bunch of NFL teams will, especially when there's only a few NFL teams that really need a quarterback right now. So I think that's ultimately where he ends up falling.
The thing to me with Shedeur is just watching him is if you're going to spend a premium pick, now it's different if we're talking about the late first round pick or a second round pick, But why I've always been hesitant to say that he's going in the top 10 is he just doesn't jump off the screen. And usually I feel like if you're going to spend a top 10 pick on a quarterback, you better be built like Josh Allen. You better be physically impressive the way that Anthony Richardson was coming out of Florida, even though the college production wasn't there. Everything about Shedeur is intangibles and toughness. It's not based on arm strength or speed or any of those things. It's just really hard to justify being a top 10 pick if that's how you describe him.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, he'd have, of the past decade, top 10 picks at quarterback, he'd probably have the weakest arm. Like, it's either him or Joe Burrow who would be the weakest arm quarterback drafted in that range. And Burrow, you can't compare Burrow's on-field performance with Shedeur's. It's night and day. Like, if you're that, if you're that small, if you have that weak of an arm, you better have an elite trait to make up for it. Like, you better have just a clean slate everywhere else. But then there's other parts of his game that are worrisome as an NFL evaluator that you're just like, it's probably too much of a risk to take that highly.
Right now, we're talking to Mike Renner. We're going to break this thing up. We're going to talk some national, also talk some local, and we'll talk more specifically about the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that the top 4 picks are starting to kind of be solidified. Cam Ward going number 1 overall, Travis Hunter going number 2 overall, Abdul Carter going number 3. I think that Will Campbell's going to go number 4 to the New England Patriots. It seems like now the draft is potentially going to start at 5. We had a draft expert on yesterday. He thinks that the Jags are going to take Ashton Genty. Where do you think the Jags go at 5?
I think they're really hoping to trade that pick. I think they're really hoping someone comes up with any sort of offer to give them more draft capital, kind of kickstart this new era in Jacksonville. Because just by looking at the board, there's not a guy really worthy of number 5 overall in this class. Those are your blue chip guys that went before. There's not anyone else I have a top 5 grade on in this draft class. And even the guys after that are like borderline top 10 grades. It just kind of runs thin real quickly. So, if you can get anything back, say you trade down to 10 with the Bears or, 12 with the Cowboys, if you can get just even a second rounder or a third rounder in return for that, you're probably doing it for the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, because the guy you're picking at 5 probably won't be too much better than the guy you're getting at 10 or 12.
You just mentioned that there's not a lot of players that have a top 5 draft board prediction. Certainly makes a lot of sense. How many guys do you have as top 10 after you get past those top 4 guys that we mentioned?
I just have Mason Graham. So Mason Graham, the Michigan defensive tackle, is the only other guy that I have a top 10 grade on in this draft class.
It feels to me, you could tell me if I'm wrong, Ashton Genty, I think, is the best skill position player in this year's draft class, but I think the argument against him is just going to be positional value. Now, he is somebody who's going to go in the top 10. I don't question that at all, but I feel like he's a high-end prospect. He just plays a position that people devalue.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. That's how I see it, is that, as far as running back prospects go, he's right up there with the guys who have gone top 10 in the past decade. Zeke Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson. I don't think he's at the top of that heap, but I don't think he's at the bottom of that heap either. So from that perspective, I fully expect him to go top 10. And the only thing holding me back, though, is it is such a good running back class. Like, you will find starters in the 4th round this year. It's that deep, that talented, that I just don't know if you need to reach, but I don't think anyone's going to argue because Ashton Genty is just that good.
Do you have running back as the deepest position in this year's draft class?
Yes, I think so. In terms of year on year, which class is going to look the most special historically, 5 years from now? I think it's going to be running back. I just think there's so much talent at it. There's other good classes, but running back to me looks like once in a decade sort of class.
What's really exciting to me about the running back draft class is it's just a lot of guys that you know. Like, if you watch college football, it's Cam Scatterboot, it's Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, it's the 2 running backs from Ohio State. Like, it's all guys that you've known and seen play at a high level that I agree with you. I think there's so much value in this draft class that if you're a team that needs a running back, I don't really know if you can miss in rounds, probably not round 1, because I don't think there's a lot that are worthy of being first-round selections. But you look at rounds 2, 3, and 4, I think we're talking about multiple 1,000-yard guys, multiple Pro Bowl caliber backs that are going to come out of this year's draft class.
100%. I would be very surprised if you don't have, almost, close to a quarter of the league starters from this draft alone in the next couple of years. That's how good it is.
Right now, we're talking to Mike Renner of CBS Sports going through the NFL draft, just getting his thoughts on everything related to the draft. Who is a player that you think is going to shock us with how high they go? Because we had Cleveland Farrell a couple of years ago. He went number 4 overall. We had Michael Penix Jr. go number 8 overall. Who is that player that you think on Thursday is just going to surprise us and be, oh, my goodness, I can't believe this happened?
I think the one guy that I keep going back to, and I don't know how high he's going to go, but if that I really haven't seen, top 10 to 15, that would not surprise me, and people would be kind of going nuts about it, is Nick Emmanwori, the South Carolina safety. Just because he feels a little bit like, when Tremaine Edmonds went top 15, the linebacker when he was with Buffalo, he kind of feels like the safety version of that, where it's just, he is such a freak, such a physical specimen at the position. He has a 6'8" wingspan. It's 4.36 40-yard dash. Just unbelievable physical tools. Even if on-field performance isn't maybe top 10, but you're not betting for you're not drafting a guy for what he did in college. You're betting on what he can do in the pros. And more often than not, in a draft class that doesn't have a lot of guys with high-end upside, Emmanwori is a guy who has high-end upside that could ultimately get pushed up boards because of it.
Do you think there's a chance that Jackson Dart gets drafted ahead of Shedeur? It seems like that's starting to be a little bit more of a sentiment. Do you think there's a chance that happens?
Oh, I think it's a very real chance. I came away watching them with almost identical grades. And I know a lot of people who have Dart higher than Shedeur. So it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. The way quarterbacks get scouted, there's almost never a consensus. I mean, just try to get people to put a consensus on who they draft in the NFL right now as their top 5 quarterbacks. You're not going to find one. So most drafts is difficult to find a consensus, and especially in this one after Cam Ward, I think it's a jumbled mess of who people have at quarterback too.
I think a lot of people have McMillan as the number 1 wide receiver on the board. I think that Golden is probably going to be the number 2 receiver that comes off the board. After that, it seems to be varying opinions. A lot of people here locally are, keeping up with Luther Burden and where he could potentially land. Emeka Egbuka, he's a prospect that I really like out of Ohio State. Could you see a scenario where Burden or Egbuka are on the board whenever Kansas City drafts at 31?
I think so. I think at least one of them. I'd be surprised if both are gone. But to me, the guy more likely to be there is probably Burden at this point, just because of the disappointing junior year. The questions around his development from freshman year to junior year, and if he really got better. And, the fact that he still has holes in his game that need to improve. Whereas Egbuka is just a super polished, high floor, A+ character sort of guy that I think, especially in this draft, when there's a lot of unknowns, I think a lot of people are going to trend towards a known, and he seems like a known quantity. So I think one's going to be there. I'd be surprised if both are, though.
Where do you think the best value for the Chiefs is going to be? Because one theory that has been kind of thrown out there is a lot of the tackles that maybe Kansas City would kind of highlight, they're not going to be on the board. Maybe the Chiefs want to go edge rusher. The value could potentially not be there in round 1. Before we kind of hone in on specific players, where do you think the best value for Kansas City is if they stand pat at 31?
That's a great question. It's hard to say at this point in time just where it's going to go. I think defensive line, though, is probably where the value is going to be. I just imagine, because I really like the DT class. I really like the edge class. I think someone will end up from either of those tumbling down the board all the way at 31. I just think that ultimately will be where, you might get a top 20-ish sort of player down there. But, there could be a run on them too. People might have watched the Super Bowl and been like, I need to load up on as many defensive linemen as possible, follow the Eagles method, and maybe that's where it goes. So it's really hard to say, but I do think, I'd be attacking the deeper positions in the class, and defensive line definitely qualifies.
Let's talk about the offensive line first, and let's kind of narrow it in. There seems to be a group of offensive linemen that are not realistic for the Chiefs. No reason to talk a lot about them. But I think if you look at Connerly, if you look at Simmons, if you look at those players in the range that they could potentially be, it sounds like Kansas City will either have a chance to get them at 31, or potentially they need to be willing to move up to 22. Let's use that as an example to try to go draft their potential right tackle for the future.
Yeah, I don't see those guys. That's where I'm thinking, just because it's such, tackle is just one of those positions where the guys who have it, you can see it. Those guys have it, right? They have the physical capabilities to play tackle in the NFL at a high level. And so after them, it gets pretty barren. There's not a lot of pretty much all the day two tackles that we're talking about is like second, third round tackles. They're going to be guards in the NFL. They're going to get moved inside. So there's not really the second wave of tackles that you can go find like a Kingsley Suamataia this year. And even you see with him, like oftentimes those day two tackles, you wait for them to develop and it never turns around. So I just think they'll be off the board. I think they'll have to, if they want one of those guys at offensive tackle. Now, one of the guards, like Gray Zabel, Tyler Booker, the Alabama guard, I think one of those could very well be on the board, but I think the tackles will be gone by then.
If you're looking at the value and I guess sort of how you project these guys, is there value in moving up to get one of them? Because nobody that does your job for a living seems to think that this is a great draft really anywhere other than running back. You don't really hear a lot of praise for the tackles, a lot of praise for the pass rush. So if Kansas City is looking for a potential left or right tackle, is there enough value in this draft to package a third-round pick and try to move up to go draft a Josh Simmons, let's say at 19, for example?
So the one problem is with those two, it's that Connerly is a little bit of a project. Simmons has the patellar tendon tear. You're making this move, and it might not benefit you until 2 or 3 years down the line. Now, I would think both will ultimately get there, right? But it might just be a longer-term move. And by that point, Kingsley might have figured it out. Wanya may have figured it out. You might just have one of those guys on the bench. So it's a tough nut to crack there for the Kansas City Chiefs. I do not envy Brett Veach in this draft, but I do think that they just need to start getting cheaper and younger. And I'm not sure they're in the sort of window where I would start throwing away picks to go get guys. I'd probably just stand pat or even collect more picks if I were them.
Right now, we're talking to Mike Renner here, just going through the NFL draft for just a little bit, just trying to see what Kansas City could potentially do. Let's mention some of the defensive end or D tackle possibilities for Kansas City. Where's the value for them at 31?
Yeah, I think someone like James Pierce from Tennessee or Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M or even Nick Scorton from Texas A&M could fall down the board and be there for them. And those are guys who are either high-end athletes or highly productive throughout their college careers. So I think that's what I'm looking at on the edge. And then DT, I've heard, or I'm seeing either Derek Harmon, the Oregon defensive tackle, is likely to fall with injury. Walter Nolan could fall because of off-field concerns, and Kenneth Grant could fall just because of a lackluster pre-draft process for him. But all three of those DTs, depending on who you talk to, some people have them in the top 10. Like it's a unique DT class in that there's three different types. Like you got a 3-tech in Nolan, you got like a 3-4 defensive end in Harmon, you got a nose tackle in Grant. But I think if you're the Chiefs, you could truly need all three of those body types at some point here soon, with just lack of talent and all the guys that have went out that door for the Chiefs on the interior.
I really think that for the Chiefs and sort of how their pass rush is kind of built right now, if they take a edge rusher early on, that will tell me almost everything I think about how they feel about Felix Anudike. In theory, now heading into year 3, we shouldn't even be having this conversation about them drafting an edge rusher. You have Chris Jones, you have Charles Omenihu, you have George Karlaftis. You spent the first-round pick on one. Like, this should be the year where you should finally reap that benefit. If this team goes pass rusher round 1, that tells me that they don't feel like Felix is going to break through.
No, you're 100% correct because, ideally you got 2 first-round edges there and a vet who's been productive pretty much every stop. It's like you don't need too much more. You shouldn't need too much more than that unless, one of those first-round edges just isn't living up to it.
A couple more questions here for Mike Renner. Let's go back to the running backs for just a little bit. Let's say that Kansas City uses a second or third round pick. They're at 63 and they're also at 66. What value do you think you could find at running back at either two of those slots?
Yeah, I think there's value wherever you draft a running back in this draft class, truthfully. It's just an exceptional draft class. I'm leaning more towards later on just because, again, I have 12 guys who would have been top 5 backs in last year's class. When that's the case, when there's 12 guys who realistically should be top 100-ish picks, you're just, the later you wait, the better the value is probably going to get because you're going to get a guy who just shouldn't be there because not every team's in the market for a running back. So some of my favorites in this class, I really love Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, who could be on the board there, back end of the second round. I really love Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, probably a pipe dream if he gets to the back end of the second round. And then I love for like short yardage backs, I love Cam Scadabo, the Arizona State running back, probably more of a back end of the third. But if you want to convert 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s, that's your guy in this class.
That is Mike Renner joining us on the show today. He covers the draft for CBS Sports. All of our draft segments here on 96.5 The Fan are brought to you by Powell Exteriors, JM Designs, and also the Salvation Army. Mike, great stuff, man. Appreciate your time.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me. Have a good one.
Absolutely. That is Mike Renner joining us on the show today, who covers the NFL draft. I will say this, Rob, and this goes to the debate that you and I had yesterday about whether or not the Chiefs should move up. I don't know if there's really a reason to be super excited about either of the possibilities. So let's be realistic at who is going to be on the board, right? Will Campbell, not going to be on the board for Kansas City. Armand Mimbu, not going to be on the board for Kansas City. I don't think that Kelvin Banks is also going to be on the board for Kansas City. So what's realistic for the Chiefs at tackle? If you are one of those people that think that offensive line is the most important thing, they got to go get one. I think he just told you the two options. Option one is a project. Are you interested in spending another first-round pick on a prospect, on a project? Because that is exactly what Felix Anudike was. We knew with his age that they were going to redshirt him. I would argue they have redshirted him for 2 years now. They have redshirted him. We are now heading into year 3 with Felix, and none of us know what to expect from their first overall pick. Like, if I set the over-under right now on sacks for Felix at 3.5, are you feeling comfortable taking the over on Felix? I'm not really sure how much he's going to be on the field this year. They took a swing on a project. I'm not willing to say he's a bust yet, but trust me, in 6 months' time from now, we will have a definitive answer on whether Felix Anudike is a bust or not for this team. That will be in the middle of your 3rd season. We know at that point if you can play or not. So option one is a project on the offensive line. The other one broke his knee earlier this college football season. I don't know if you should be super excited about either one of those possibilities. It sounds to me, Rob, if we are looking at it objectively, the Chiefs are in a little bit of a bad spot in round 1 with where they select, just because of the value of what I think they need and it potentially being there for them when they actually select. If you don't want to move up in this year's draft class, and certainly understandable if you don't want to package picks and move up this year, you're taking a project on the offensive line, or you're taking somebody on the defensive line that I'm not really sure if they can help you immediately in pass rush, which I think ultimately is one of the things that the Chiefs are going to need this upcoming season.
I'm not going to lie to you. Mike Renner painted a pretty bleak picture for the Chiefs at offensive line. Taking the names off the board, we know we're not going to be there. He said Jack Connerly, the guy from Oregon, is a little bit of a project. He said, similar to how Kingsley was a project. Now, he's inside right now, but he thinks Connerly will, and I'm quoting here, eventually get there. That's not great. Joshua Simmons, good player, tore his patella last year. Who knows what the prospects like? Who knows the Chiefs medical set? Who knows? But a guy who tore his patella under 12 months ago, also not great. He then went on to say the day 2 and day 3 draft picks at tackle are all guards. None of them project out to be tackles in the NFL. So if you are the type of person who is saying the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl because they don't have a tackle, go get your tackle, he did not paint a great picture. That, honestly, that's the bleakest I've heard described. Project injured guards. That is, it might be why the Chiefs signed Jalen Moore to the deal they got him to.
I think that's clearly why they did it. Yeah.
That's a rough painting. Like, that is, you either have to reach and get Connerly, who's a project, you got to hope Simmons is healthy, or you got to get a guard, or he also said maybe Kingsley or Wanye figure it out, which people who watch Chiefs football are not optimistic about that endeavor either. That was a bleak breakdown of tackle in the draft.
Yeah, but where I would maybe, I guess, try to put a little bit of context on things are, the Chiefs don't need Connerly or Simmons for this upcoming year. And if you draft either one of those individuals, it is 100% for depth this year. Now, you will probably need depth. We saw last season, an injury might happen. A guy might not play up to the certain level that you think he is. I mean, you were probably not going to have the same 5 offensive linemen from opening night in the NFL until a potential Super Bowl. You're probably not going to have the same 5 starters. But are you going to feel comfortable if an injury happens, putting a Connerly in and he's going to have to start? So I at least want to look at it through the lens of this is not a desperate need. Like, I would argue that the Chiefs, if they don't take an offensive lineman in this year's draft, it is not the worst thing that can happen. If the Chiefs look at this year's draft class, feel like they have enough depth, if something goes wrong, they will just do what they did last year. Hey, if something goes wrong this year, we're going to go find a DJ Humphries. We're going to go find a Donovan Smith. We're going to go find an established veteran on a 1-year deal, and we'll make it work from there because we like next year's draft class a lot more when you could potentially have a more pressing need. I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen. I just think, at least for the basis of this conversation, what we deem to be their biggest needs, and I use needs in quotation, I'm not really sure the more and more draft people we talk to, if there is enough value to take that person at 31. I think there's enough value to take other positions at 31. I think there's enough value to take wide receiver at 31. I think there's enough value to take corner at 31. I'm not sure if you are asking the Chiefs, if you're one of those people that believe don't draft for need, draft best player available. I find it now very hard to believe that the best player available is going to be an offensive lineman at 31. I find it very hard to believe that a pass rusher will be the best player available at 31. Now, your draft philosophy is always going to be some combination of both of those, but we talked to 3 draft people over the last 2 days. Nothing they have told me makes me feel like best player available for the Chiefs is going to be at the position that I think if you ask fans, what do you want them to take? I'm not sure if best player available is going to be there. Let's keep the offensive line conversation going on the other side. Andy said something yesterday about Kingsley Suamataia that we forgot to discuss. We absolutely need to talk about. I'll tell you what it is. Keep it right here. It's The Drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison, your home for the best food takes in KC.
Regular old American nachos. You know, I don't need jalapenos with mine, just chips, cheese.
Brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this. 96.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's Carrington Harrison from The Drive here. Are you feeling tired, maybe a little foggy, or just not like yourself? Well, it could be low T. Symptoms like low energy, poor sleep, and a lack of motivation. They don't have to control your life. And at Heartland Men's Health, they specialize in treating low testosterone and helping men regain their vitality and confidence. With just a simple, quick quiz at heartlandmenshealth.com, you can find out if you're experiencing low T, and then you can book a $100 consultation. They'll run your labs, and within 30 minutes, you'll have your answers. And if you start treatment that day, then the visit is on the house. In just weeks, you'll feel more energy, get better sleep, improve workouts, and have a stronger sex drive. So don't let this hold you back. Pick up the phone. Don't wait. Call 844-447-6600 or visit heartlandmenshealth.com today. Heartland Men's Health has 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City. Reclaim your energy and confidence today.
Attention car shoppers, Kevin Harlan here with Rob Side of Rob Side Ford in South Kansas City. Hey Rob, what's going on?
Hey Kevin, we've got big savings, rare inventory, no pressure. It's simple, and that's how we like it. 2025 is off to a record-breaking start, and we're heating things up while the selection's hot.
Simple is what I love most about Rob Side Ford. So Rob, what's the plan?
We've got employee pricing on new Fords, up to $14,000 in savings. In the inventory, we've got the hard-to-find models everyone's chasing. And, as always, you still get what sets us apart. A friendly, non-commissioned sales team, massive trade-in values, and the easiest, most hassle-free car buying experience in Kansas City.
That's why Rob Side Ford is the only dealership I'll send my friends and family to. But you're forgetting one thing.
What's that?
Rob Side Ford is Kansas City's top-rated Google Ford dealership.
Good call. Can't forget about that. Check out Rob Site Ford in South Kansas City at 135th and State Line, ROB
SIGHT.com.
Don't let clogged drains slow you down. Call Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rooter today for our $79 mainline drain clearing special. The pros at Hamilton will inspect your drains with video camera technology to pinpoint exactly what is needed to clear those clogs and help prevent expensive drain repairs. The expert technicians at Hamilton are ready 7 days a week to solve your problem the right way, the first time. Over 40 years experience and more than 8,000 five-star reviews ensures your peace of mind. Visit callhamilton.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 2025-11121.
Red Hot Car Giveaway, only at Harris, Kansas City. Saturday, April 26th, one lucky winner will win a brand new Red Hot Lexus ES350. Harris is giving away $2,500 in free play every 15 minutes from 7 p.m. till 10:45 p.m. At 11, two winners will receive $5,000 in free play, and one person will win $10,000 cash. And one person drives home a brand new Lexus ES350. Visit our website for full details. 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small, loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I'm Brian Tedesco, CEO of Blaupunk Americas, the pioneers of the car stereo. Today, we're not just about sound systems. We are revolutionizing the e-bike scene with Blue Dot Bike. Thanks to AmericanEagle.com, our online presence now features a dynamic e-commerce website that showcases the quality and affordability of our foldable e-bikes. And our collegiate e-bikes, just perfect for the college fanatic. These e-bikes offer a new way to experience freedom on two wheels, no matter your age. When we needed a top-notch website to match our cutting-edge e-bikes, we turned to AmericanEagle.com. They made the impossible seem easy, tackling digital challenges like pros. Check out the Blue Dot Bike website to see AmericanEagle.com's amazing work in action. Need the best in website and digital marketing solutions? AmericanEagle.com is your go-to. They've been a game changer for us, and they can be for you too. Visit AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW-1. That's 877-WEB-NOW-1.
Tonight, expect showers and thunderstorms with a low of 58. Weather brought to you by Robert Half. Our recruiters' expertise and award-winning AI will find you the skilled candidates you want. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today.
Here's traffic, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
Two-car crash southbound 35 right before Santa Fe Street. It is on the shoulder, but traffic backed up to 435. It is also slow heading northbound on 435 from just past K32 to 53rd Street. I'm Lori Pearson, 96.5 The Fan Traffic.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. You're listening to The Drive with Carrington Harrison on 96.5 The Fan and the Odyssey app.
This thought just randomly popped in my head. We'll get back to the draft in a bit. I've honestly never thought of this before. Is there a team more appropriately named than the Colorado Rockies? Like, when you really think about it, you kind of got to explain names of teams to people. Like, why are they called the Boston Red Sox? I don't really know why. Why are they the White Sox? What's the Cincinnati Red? Like, there's like a story behind it. You ask somebody about, hey, what's a Cleveland Guardian? Then they got to go in some long story of explaining what a Guardian is. And you're like, okay, all right, I got it. You don't really got to explain to anybody why they're the Colorado Rockies. It just makes sense. You don't got to overthink it. Like, oh, yeah, okay. What's their mascot's name? Rocky. Great. We ain't got to do a whole lot of work here. We got cool jerseys and everything. The Rockies are right there in the background. Very appropriate name. Probably didn't take too much time to think about it. Sometimes the obvious choice is the best choice. Rob, is there a team in sports that is more appropriately named than the Colorado Rockies?
That's a really good question. Now, I'll say this real quick about the Rockies. As much as they're perfectly named, their mascot being a dinosaur is stupid and makes no sense at all. But that's a different conversation.
Their mascot's a dinosaur?
It's a dinosaur. It's a purple dinosaur named Rocky.
No, it's not.
Google it right now. If you Google Colorado Rockies mascot, it might actually be named something else, but it is a purple dinosaur.
Their mascot, actually, his name is not Rocky. That is the basketball team. I just looked it up. Their mascot, his name is Dinger.
So the name makes sense with baseball, but why is he a purple dinosaur? I don't know.
I don't have a good answer for you on why.
Were there a lot of dinosaurs roaming around the Rockies? I'd bet against it, but you're right. Rockies is a very good name. I would say Miami.
The text line is now making really good points. The Colorado Avalanche, also a really, really good team name. No questions about that. Houston Texans, also very good name for a team. Hey, why are they the Texans? Oh, it's in Houston. Oh, yeah. You don't really got to do a whole lot explaining there. Philadelphia Phillies, also really, really good name for a team. Colorado Rockies still might be number one on the list. Just a very, very easy, simple, we're the Rockies.
Miami Marlins probably fit into this category. I mean, you associate Miami with fish, their waters right there. I could see that one. Like Dallas Cowboys. I imagine there were a bunch of Cowboys down in Dallas before it became a booming metroplex, but that's the listing. There are some ones that make no sense, but that's probably the group we've collected.
The text line is saying that the reason their mascot is a dinosaur is because they found dinosaur fossils when they were building the stadium. So when they were building the stadium, they found dinosaur bones. That's why they made it. That makes sense. I got it now.
But see, you have to do some explaining.
You got to explain it. Yeah, no, you got to. The thing is, you shouldn't have to explain the joke. Like when you see the Royals and you're like, oh, well, what is our mascot going to be? Oh, it's a lion. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. The crown, the king. Oh, I get it. No, that makes sense. I got it. Someone threw up another one. Houston Rocket. That's a good one, too. Houston Rocket's a really good one. That's a strong one. We can move on from this. That's a great one. Houston Rocket. Really, really good. I want to play this. I don't know why we didn't talk about this yesterday. I will take full responsibility for us not talking about this yesterday. Andy Reid was asked a question about Kingsley Suamataia. Now, for the basis of this conversation, I want you to keep in mind that last year, Kingsley never really appeared to be in any competition at all at left tackle. He was their left tackle the entire offseason until he wasn't. Now the conversation is he's in a battle with Mike Caliendo for left guard. Listen to this.
I thought he felt more comfortable in there as a young guy. Sometimes you see guys that start in there and then they work their way back outside. But so we stuck him in there, and he did a nice job against Denver. That was one of the bright spots in a game that didn't have many. So that was I thought he did a good job, and that's where we'll put him. He'll start in there with Mike Caliendo, so they'll compete for that spot.
That was Andy Reid yesterday talking about Kingsley Suamataia and where he could potentially play. I'm going to say this, and maybe this seems obvious. Maybe some of you disagree, so we'll figure that out at the end of it. If Kingsley Suamataia in the course of 1 year goes from losing his job at left tackle to then not being able to beat out undrafted from Western Michigan Mike Caliendo at left guard, he's a bust. He's a bust. Oh, well, you're being too hard on him. At every single time, the Chiefs have told me they don't think he can play. You want to know how I know they've told me that? Because they benched him in the middle of game number 2. They've never done that with anybody. The middle of the second game, hey, man, you got to get him out of here. We never saw him at left tackle ever again the rest of the season. They rather had hired somebody who wasn't playing or practicing than give Kingsley another chance at left tackle during the season. Now, heading into this, they're not giving him a chance. Even with the offseason, they're not even willing to roll the dice. Hey, we got to get somebody else to do it. Hey, we're going to go bring in this Jalen Moore guy. Cool. All right. Heading into it, let's see if it's a real competition. That could be just something that they say. You know, they just talk and they just say things. And all right. I'm telling you right now, if Kingsley Suamataia is not starting for the Chiefs in week 1 against whomever they are going to play, I'm ready to call it right then and there. He's a bust. He can't play. You couldn't start at left tackle last year when they were trying to find, they almost held open tryouts like it was invincible at left tackle. You then got beat out by Mike Caliendo. He has to win this job. Has to win this job.
What if he's Wanye Moore? What if he's a swing tackle? Still a bust? Like, if he's not the starting guard, but he's the team's swing tackle next year. Jalen, they said they don't draft one, just for the sake of the conversation. If he is what Wanye Morris was last year, the swing tackle that starts in a pinch at right or left and can jump in at guard, he's a Swiss Army knife lineman. For where he was picked, does that still make him a bust? He loses the starting job in that world, but has a role. Are you still holding the bust factor against him?
We're using second-round picks now on backup tackles?
They basically did that with Wanye Morris, albeit a third.
Kingsley Suamataia was a second-round pick. We're using second-round picks now on backups? Backup offensive linemen? That's the second round? No. That's a bust. Think about the things that you wouldn't trade a second-round pick for, Rob. Just think about you, not the text line, you, Rob. You wouldn't trade a second-round pick for a lot of things. So because you value the importance of taking a chance on a rookie deal, they drafted a backup tackle that you're fearful of putting in the game. He's a bust. He's a bust. I'm not saying he is right now. He's saying he's going into the season. They're not just giving him the job. It sounds to me like 4 of their 5 positions are already filled. We know who the left tackle is going to be. We know from center to right tackle. There is one position battle that they are talking about heading into the season. Now, Mike Caliendo, I think, did a fine job for the Chiefs at guard last year, but he's an undrafted player from Western Michigan going up against a second-round pick from Andy Reid's alma mater, who they thought at one point was a starting caliber left tackle in the NFL. You cannot lose that position battle and try to spin that to me like it's a positive. You've lost 2 battles in a calendar year on this team. You're a backup then. You're a backup. That's just not really where I think you should be looking for. That kind of depth, you're not looking for at pick 63. You're looking for a guy that you think can start. You're looking for a guy that you think can contribute. And so far, they have been fearful of Kingsley Suamataia being able to help this team on the field. We can keep this conversation going coming up on the other side. Keep it right here, so drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
At CertaPro Painters, we know that a happy place comes in many colors, like ones that inspire a sense of wonder, or a new flavor that makes life just a little bit sweeter, or one to celebrate those moments that lift you to new heights. With thousands of 5-star reviews, you can trust us to bring happiness home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. to keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-518-3899. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-518-3899. That's 800-518-3899. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Here's today's sixth-man picks, presented by DraftKings Pick 6.
It's a pivotal game 2 in the East tonight. Consider picking Pascal Siakam to have more than 20.5 points. He's been hot of late and figures to get a lot of scoring opportunities in this one. In the West, all eyes are on Julius Randle to have more than 16.5 points. He knocked off some rust after returning from injury in Game 1, and wouldn't be surprising to see him up his offensive performance significantly in Game 2.
Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and lock in your picks before tip-off with code MyPicks. That's code MyPicks for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void or prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Prices are going up everywhere. Tariffs may drive up costs across the country, but not at Legacy Box.
Why? Because we're proudly 100% American made. Every tape, film reel, and photo you send stays right here in the USA, digitized by skilled technicians who know your memories are priceless.
Introducing the Legacy Box All-American Sale. Just $9 per tape. Not $15, not $12, just $9.
We're the nation's #1 digitizer, trusted by over 1 million families because we've made it simple. Just fill your Legacy Box with old tapes, film reels, and photos. We'll digitize them by hand and return everything, plus digital copies on the cloud you can relive and share forever.
With Legacy Box, your memories are safe from tariffs and safe from time. Heat, humidity, and age are already destroying your family's history, so take advantage of our limited time $9 tape sale.
Visit legacybox.com/value to lock in savings today. That's legacybox.com/value. Legacy Box, American made, trusted by families.
Hey there, Kansas Lottery here. And we want to get together for a game or two. Meet us at your favorite retailer or wherever you like to buy your tickets, and we can let the games begin. There's a lot of fun and cash on the line. See kslottery.com for details.
Royals coverage sponsored by Renner Garage Door, forward and back, RENNER.
It's almost Andy Reid. The off-season is a perfect time for a $100 tune-up from Renner Garage Door. Get a free replacement quote today. Call or click rennerdoor.com, Renner forward and back.
RENNER. Here's traffic, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
2-car crash southbound 35 right before Santa Fe Street. It is on the shoulder, but traffic backed up to 435. It is also slow heading northbound on 435 from just past K32 to 53rd Street. I'm Lori Pearson, 96.5, The Fan Traffic.
Hey, Kansas City, it's Vinny Pasquantino. Welcome into The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your home for Royals baseball, 96.5, The Fan.
All right, we have been going through past drafts for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go back to the 2023 draft. This was the grade given by CBS Sports.
Chiefs, C-, Pete.
Yeah, I didn't like their draft, and this kills me because I know they do such a good job, and all we have to do is look back to last year when they had all those kids playing in the secondary. They did a great job with it. I didn't like the first-round pick, and go ahead, you pronounce his name, Brady. I'm not going to do it.
Alex Uzama.
Okay, very good. I didn't like that pick at all. I think he was drafted a little high by my liking. I know it's a need. I didn't like the second-round wide receiver. There were better options on the board. Morris is a guy, look, down the road, he could end up being a starting right tackle. The rest of the draft didn't do a lot for me. I just didn't think they had a great draft. And this kills me because I know Brett Veach does a great job with the draft, but I got to call it like I see it. We'll see. A couple of years, I'll probably be wrong, but I didn't like this draft.
All right, so this was the Chiefs draft in 2023, just a couple of years ago. This was the draft that was in Kansas City. Felix Anudike-Uzomah was the number 1 pick for the Chiefs. They got him at 31. Rashee Rice was at 55. Wanya Morris was at 92. Chamari Connor was a 4th-round pick, 119. B.J. Thompson, Keandre Coburn, and Nick Jones. That was the draft picks for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to pull up Rashee Rice and see who else was on the board for them at wide receiver. I mean, directly after him at wide receiver. The next wide receiver taken was Marvin Mims. He went to the Broncos. Tank Dell was selected by the Houston Texans. Also, Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman. Those were the next 5 wide receivers that were taken after Rashee Rice. I think the Chiefs, I mean, you could argue Tank Dell's a little bit better than Rashee Rice, but I think the Chiefs ended up being right on Rashee Rice. Now, I know he didn't have 1,000 yards his first season. I know that he tore his ACL last year. I still think there's a lot of hope and optimism as we are halfway through Rashee Rice's rookie contract. I don't really have much of an issue now going back and playing the hindsight game. I think you rather have Rashee Rice than have any of those other options that are out there. I would say all the other criticisms I think were fair about this class now that we're looking back in hindsight. Felix was not worthy of being the number 31 overall pick. Maybe the Chiefs just really wanted to make a selection that year. They're hosting the draft, hometown guy. Clark wants to go out there and make the pick and play the fireworks. You get to do that when you're the one in charge. But now looking at the other picks, I mean, Wanya hasn't found a consistent place on the field. Chamari Connor's fine, but maybe didn't develop in the way. But he was the 119th pick. I don't really have a problem with Chamari Connor. I mean, B.J. Thompson hasn't helped him. Keandre Coburn and Nick Jones. This is, Rice really complicates it. I'm going to go C+ on this draft.
Really?
I'm going to go C+. I think that Rice is good.
I'm like drop dead stunned back here that you're going to have a lower grade on this class than I am.
You think it's higher than that?
This is a B-. Rashee Rice is a 1,000-yard capable wide receiver. And you got him at what, 60 whatever?
There's just so many of those. And I'm not saying
Chiefs
this.
never find those guys.
I'm not saying this is a knock.
Not round 2, 3, and 4.
I'm not saying this is a knock to Rashee Rice. I'm really not saying this as a knock. I'm going to pull it up right now. How many guys do you think had 1,000 yards last year in the league?
Probably 20-something.
Yeah,
Now, how many of them are rookies? Because his near 1,000-yard season was as a rookie. We'll never know. He looked good last year in 3 games. We'll never know how the story ends. He won't get a full season this year. So maybe it's all projection with Rashee forever.
Last year, there were 24 players at 1,000 yards receiving last year. Let me ask you this. Would you rather Jameson Williams or have Rice?
Probably Rice. But by an iota.
Okay.
I feel like Jameson Williams is basically a better player. Don't get this wrong, but he's a better version of Xavier Worthy. They're kind of the same.
Do you think Rice is going to play a second contract in Kansas City?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they're going to get him relatively cheap, though, because of the injury and the suspension.
I mean, not if he hits 1,000 yards these next 2 years.
I think they're going to get him extended next offseason because he'll be at the end of year 3 with this on a second-year deal.
There's not any scenario I want the Chiefs to pay Rashee Rice at the end of this offseason.
Really?
None.
That's even more interesting.
I mean, unless he's Justin Jefferson this year. I'm just saying
I'd rather lock him in at a relatively cheap price knowing how that position is escalating quickly.
Obviously, I don't know how this season's going to play itself out. Let's say that Rashee Rice has 1,100 yards receiving this year, which is a good year. Everybody would take him having 1,100 yards. There's no chance I'm paying him at the end of this season.
I would do it.
Really quick, though. The last offseason you had fully healthy, you didn't really show me a lot of good decision-making. I want you to have a healthy and quiet offseason before we start to have those conversations. And I'm willing to pay a little bit more on the back end just to see if you can do it. This year, there is no reason for you to be in trouble if you're Rashee Rice. You are dealing with the knee injury. You're trying to get back healthy. You got the suspension over your head. I want to see what because the last time that Rashee Rice had a good year, hey, I had 900 yards. I was the number one receiver on a team that won the Super Bowl. He was outside for that offseason. There's not many scenarios in which at the end of the year I can see myself advocating to pay him what I think the market says that he would be worth at the end of this upcoming year. You couldn't act right on a rookie deal. I'm now about to turn around and give you 4 years, $100 million with $60 million guaranteed. No chance I'm doing that this offseason with Rashee Rice.
I'm not willing to pay the tax at the back, though. I get what you're saying. I actually agree with you conceptually. But the tax at the back, though, is going to be heavy because his usage is about to spike. We think this is the last year of Travis Kelce in Kansas City, maybe in the NFL. Who's getting those targets? Because I have a hunch it's number 4. And, yeah, it'll be target-a-palooza for Rashee Rice, but then he might go back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, staring down the barrel of true free agency. I'm tired of paying a premium for players because free agency is, about to happen. Get ahead of it. And maybe this is a bad cross-board comparison. Give him the Cole Reagans deal. Here's 3 years. Keep your nose clean. It's good money, and then we'll reevaluate. But I want to be ahead with Rashee Rice. I don't want to be behind the curve. That position is too expensive.
Yeah, and I guess maybe this is where we're a little bit off. Someone on the text line says, this disrespect towards Rashee Rice is unreal. He's a top 10 wide receiver. Somebody says he has top 10 in the league upside. I don't feel that way about Rashee Rice, and it's not an indictment of how I feel about him. I just think we are now underselling how deep and how strong wide receiver is. I think we're underselling it. Think last year. I mean, if we're going top 10, I mean, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik, he ain't close to top 10 right now. Not close to being top 10. I don't even really know if he's that close to being top 20 just because of how deep the position is at it. Let me ask you this question. Is he better than Ladd McConkey for the Chargers?
Yes. When healthy, he's better than Ladd McConkey.
I'm just saying, Ladd McConkey did all the things that you were telling me that Rashee Rice was going to do. Last year as a rookie, Ladd McConkey had 82 catches for 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns last year. In year one, he had that and didn't have nearly the amount of help or infrastructure that Rashee Rice had in year one.
I think McConkey's really good, too. It's not a discount on McConkey. They can both be
I feel
good.
like you and I are in the same place. I'm not trying to knock Rashee Rice. I'm just saying top 10 upside. We are just underestimating how many good receivers there are in the league.
I also want to control. I didn't say top 10 upside. That was the text line. I can like Rashee Rice more. I never said he's a top 10 upside.
Who's better, Rice or Zay Flowers for the Ravens?
Oh, Zay Flowers better.
Okay. Well, then if he's not better than Zay Flowers, then he's not top 10.
Zay Flowers is probably a top, 18 receiver in the NFL? And Zay Flowers about to get super paid in about a year, too.
Would you rather have Rashee Rice or Jalen Waddle?
Based on their age.
That's what I'm saying. Wide receivers deep.
Based on their
wide
age,
receivers deep.
Based on their age, I would say Rice, but that's.
I mean, Mike Evans isn't a top 10 receiver, and he's not better than Mike Evans.
Well, Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer, so.
Hit the button.
Hey, it's Cole Reagans from the Kansas City Royals. You're listening to The Drive with C-Dot on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this. Here's traffic, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this.
2-car crash southbound 35 right before Santa Fe Street. It is on the shoulder, but traffic backed up to 435. It is also slow heading northbound on 435 from just past K32 to 53rd Street. I'm Lori Pearson, 96.5, The Fan Traffic.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list? I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-518-3899. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-518-3899. That's 800-518-3899. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040.
Gain a global perspective and specialized skills that many of today's top employers are seeking with an MBA from University of Maryland Global Campus. Study online and complete your degree in just 16 months for about $21K. Choose from MBA specializations in global business, marketing, HR, finance, and more. Classes start May 14th. Apply now and save with no application fee. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chef.
Hey baseball fans, want to boost the odds on your next MLB parlay? Take the field with a Parlay Boost token with BetMGM, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Log in to your BetMGM account to receive your token. Then, place a parlay on any MLB game and apply the token. Just make sure to bet up to the minimum stake, odds, and legs specified on the token. If your boosted parlay hits, you'll score a bigger payout. Feeling good about your MLB parlay? Step up to the plate for your chance to score. Claim your MLB Parlay Boost token today. Join the excitement all season long with BetMGM. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards vary and expire in 1 to 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Need to sell your house in Kansas City but not sure what the best option is? Selling a home, especially when dealing with foreclosure, divorce, job relocation, or an inherited property, can feel overwhelming. That's why I don't just make offers. I help homeowners understand all their options so they can make the right choice with no pressure and no obligation. I'm Rex, a local homebuyer and resident right here in Kansas City. Whether you're looking for a fast cash sale or just want to explore your choices, I'll walk you through the pros and cons of selling to me or listing with an agent. If selling directly is your best move, I'll offer you a fair cash price and a closing timeline that fits your needs in as little as 7 days or on your schedule. No repairs, no commissions, no hidden fees. Just a transparent, hassle-free process so you know exactly what to expect. Let's talk. Call 816-330-6000 or visit rexspicekc.com for a free, no-pressure consultation. Rex Spies KC, helping homeowners make informed decisions with confidence.
This report is brought to you by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka and Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka and Surfside Lemonade and Vodka. Proud partner of the Kansas City Royals. Each can of Surfside is only 100 calories and the best part, 0 bubbles. Grab it at the K or ask for it at your favorite bars and liquor stores.
Kansas City, this is Michael Massey. Listen to the play-by-play all season long with Denny, Jake, Ryan, and Stu right here on your home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan.
KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, an Odyssey Sports Station.
This is a fun conversation we're having about Rashee Rice and kind of where you would stack him up because at least with Rasheed, where maybe I struggle with how to rank him as a wide receiver is he had a very, very promising rookie year. No question. He then got hurt in the middle of year 2. We think he's going to be suspended in year 3. What's his upside? What does that look like? I mean, the pace that he was on is crazy for last year. Because people are mentioning that, hey, you know, if he hadn't gotten hurt, and you're 100% right, if he hadn't gotten hurt, he was certainly in line. I mean, if he hadn't got hurt, if you just took what Rashee Rice did in his first 3 games of the season, if he had done that for the entire season, he would have had the most catches in the league and would have had the second most yards in the league behind Jamar Chase and would have been tied for first in touchdowns. Now, maybe you think that's what he would have done last season. I don't think he would have done that, but I think he certainly would have had a really good year. I don't really know where I would place Rashee Rice. I mean, I'm not putting him in the top 10. I'm probably not putting him in the top 20. Somewhere in that 21 to 30 range feels fair for about what Rashee Rice has done so far in his career, also projecting it out a little bit. And more so than anything, like we were just talking about, that's more of an indication of how deep I think wide receiver is and not really an indictment on how I feel about Rashee Rice. Like I'll ask you, like a guy like Smith for the Eagles, Devontae Smith. I don't think Devontae Smith is in many people's top 10. Maybe you would put Devontae Smith in the top 20. He's a better receiver than Rashee Rice to me. Like, I just think we're just talking about a position group that is just really, really loaded with a whole lot of talent. So that's kind of it with Rashee. We were going back through one of the draft classes that they had at the position. So that's where I am with Rashee Rice.
I think we're mostly on the same page with Rashee. I think a little more highly of Rashee than you do. Not by a lot. I agree with you. Wide receiver might be the most deep position in the NFL, like with quality guys, and not just like, you know, stat stuffers, like really quality wide receivers.
Sure.
But
I mean, right now, and sorry to cut you off, wide receiver is the deepest class in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Like, that is the deepest position. Like, I'm not sure if I would put Garrett Wilson in my top 10. I think Garrett Wilson's better than Rashee Rice. Like, I just think that position's
Garrett Wilson last year was bad. Like, bad might be a little bit harsh, but there was a regression from Garrett Wilson last year. That would be because his quarterback was more interested in doing ayahuasca than playing football, but that's how we judge wide receivers.
No, that's fair.
I mean, that's part of the calculus.
I think Garrett Wilson's amazing.
I don't know. I think he's amazing. I think Garrett Wilson and Rashee Rice are probably more Spider-Man meme than you think.
Okay.
Well, Chris Olave.
I was literally just thinking about Chris Olave. I was about to say that next because I was thinking Ohio State. No, I literally was just thinking that. I think Rice is better than Chris Olave. I don't think it's a big gap between where he and Olave are, but I do think Rashee Rice is better than Chris Olave. Last one, Terry McLaurin.
Oh, Terry McLaurin's better than Rashee Rice.
Okay.
Terry McLaurin is like first-team All-American slept on by Carrington. There's a group of people that you sleep on. Scary Terry might be the best on the list.
I'm with you.
You act like he's some plucky 800-yard guy. He's a really good player in the league.
Do you think Rice is better than T. Higgins?
No, but I think what T. Higgins is, a elite number 2, fringe number 1 wideout, is what Rashee Rice is.
Okay.
And I think circling all the way
Text
back,
line's cooking you for Zay Flowers, by the way.
Zay Flowers averages per year better than what Rashee Rice did in 1 year, and it is what it is.
Okay.
And he also, if we're gonna, you know how Chiefs fans will do that. Well, wait till he gets around Mahomes. Zay Flowers is cooking people with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, and it's not like that's Dan Marino in his prime.
So we're off a little bit early today because of the Royals. The Royals are back in town. They're playing the Colorado Rockies. There are, I guess, maybe 2 things that you need to know about the Rockies as you're getting ready for this series, and Vern is going to take over in just a bit. There's 2 things, and then we'll get back to the NFL draft. Thing number 1 is, if you're somebody who believes in run differential, let me tell you that the Rockies are dead last in run differential with 50. They're minus 51 on the year. Second place is minus 28. They are just not the worst team in the league. I mean, they are lapping the field as the worst team in the league. They've already fired their hitting coach. The Rockies have not won multiple games in a row. We've been playing baseball for 3 weeks. They've played 21 games. They have not won 2 days in a row so far this season. They're the only team that has not put together a winning streak of some kind this season. They're bad. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. You cannot afford to lose a series to the Colorado Rockies. I don't care how they do it. I don't care if the Royals score 9 runs today or if they beat the Rockies 3 straight days of 1-0. We have talked a lot about the schedule and that the Chiefs were playing, I don't want to say the heavyweights, but they were playing like opponents, other playoff teams, and you were waiting for the schedule to lighten up a little bit. Well, it can't get much lighter than the Colorado Rockies. In fact, it is as light as the schedule can be. This team is worse than the Chicago White Sox. They make the Oakland A's blush with how bad they are. You cannot afford to lose to that team, especially when Cole Reagans goes on the mound for you in this series and also Chris Bubich pitches today. You can't afford to lose to this team. I don't have any other commentary about this series other than go get it done. I don't want to hear any excuses. Oh, well, it's early. No, you guys are being, I don't know. If they lose a series to the Colorado Rockies coming off the road trip that they just had, when we get done talking about the NFL draft, I will press the panic button with the Royals. If you think the Royals are a playoff team and you think that this is just a blip and it's early in the season and they'll figure things out, I'm willing to sit with you. I'm willing to be on your side. I can't be on your side if they lose to this Rockies team. They're terrible. They're bad. They're real bad. They're real bad. They're losing 110 games this season. 2 of those wins don't need to be against you. So that is our Royals-Rockies commentary for the day.
Real quick on the Rockies. Isn't this a quintessential example of something you always say? You can't win the division in April, but you can lose it. I'm not saying winning the Rocky series means anything. Frankly, winning the Rocky series means nothing. It's what you're supposed to do. If you lose it, you can lose a lot of goodwill in the city, and you can lose a lot of hope and optimism because you should not be losing a series to that team. I think this series is exactly what you say. You can't win divisions and wild card spots in April, but you can sure lose them. That's this series.
Yeah, and I think the Royals are positioned in a way that Houston, and for whatever reason, Houston they start off the year slow. They did this last year. Remember the Royals beat them early on in that series? I think they swept the Astros in the first series, the first month of the year. And then you got the Rockies. Like after a tough week for the Royals, after a tough early start for the Royals, and this is an organization that should be looking at, hey, we could be 1 game under 500 by the end of this. If you can win 2 or 3 or potentially sweep the Rockies, you could win a series against the Astros, you can really undo all of what happened last week by just taking care of business against the worst team in the league and against another team that is also struggling to figure things out. With how bunched up baseball is right now, there's not a lot of just bad teams. Everybody is just kind of all in that same grouping with everybody. There are 2 teams that I would say have already eliminated themselves. You're playing one of those teams. You're playing one of those teams right now. Like the Braves haven't eliminated themselves. They got the same record as the Royals. The Pirates are not a good team. Maybe you could say that they're in that conversation as well, but the Pirates only have 1 fewer loss than the Royals. So I don't know how you can be down on them. You get what I'm saying. There's 2 teams that baseball season is already over for you. It's over. There's 2 teams. It's the Rockies and the White Sox. One of those teams is in your division. The other team is coming into town this week. Beat up on the Rockies. Hit the button, Rob.
Your workday is over. Oh, yeah. You're headed home, and now you're stuck in traffic. Time to get caught up on the biggest stories in Kansas City and around the country with CDOT and Rob. It's time for the hits. Number 1.
Carrington's Always Hits are brought to you by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to unpack a lot of these draft cuts that we have for today's show, and then we'll hand things off to Vern. All right, let's start with Todd McShay. I usually listen to, like a lot of NBA podcasts. I like listening to people talk about the NBA. For this week, I've shifted. I have been listening to a lot of NFL draft podcasts just to get ready. I want to know what I'm talking about, and I want to know what the draft people are talking about. So I was listening to Todd McShay's podcast. He does a very good podcast for The Ringer. He ain't very high about this class as an O-line draft or a D-line draft. Here's Todd McShay.
People in the other draft rooms are like, pew, 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 yes, yes.
Right.
Because, go ahead, take Tet. Take Will Campbell. Because I'm talking to teams, and they don't, like, Tet and Will aren't sniffing the very top, where we've got other guys. Obviously, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. But now we got a quarterback who's in not a great quarterback class that no one else is really worried about. Now we've got a wide receiver in not a great wide receiver class that nobody else is really worried where he goes. Okay? Now we got an offensive tackle and a tackle class. I told you, talking to NFL people, 5th or 6th offensive tackle a year ago. Okay? Quarterback would have been 5th or 6th last year. Offensive tackle would have been 5th or 6th last year. Wide receiver would have been 6th last year.
I think it is safe to say in this year's draft class, there are 3 star players as prospects. That's not to say that other stars will not emerge, but heading into this draft class, there's 3. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and I think Ashton Jeanty is a star. Now, we'll see where he gets drafted, but in the right situation, I think that Ashton Jeanty could be in the conversation of the best running back in the National Football League. I really believe that about him. I think, at least to bring this local and talk about it through the Chiefs' perspective, is that doesn't sound good if you're in the market for 2 of those things. The Chiefs are in the market for O-line. They're telling you Will Campbell, who is maybe going to be the 4th overall pick, he wouldn't be one of the 5 best tackle prospects last year. Well, if you feel that way about Will Campbell, what does that mean for Kelvin Banks? What does that mean for Josh Simmons? What does that mean for Josh Connerly? And are those players that you would want to trade up for? If you feel that way on the pass rush side, well, what does the 5th best pass rusher look like in this year's draft class compared to in years past? Now, what I don't want the Chiefs to do is I don't want them to feel like they are hell-bent on, we got to take a position of need in round 1. That I know we say best player available, but the more and more we do this, and I'll play more cuts for you guys, I am not convinced that best player available for them also intersects with offensive or defensive line at 31. Now, that's just the opinion of some, and maybe the Chiefs end up taking a defensive lineman, and that guy ends up being fantastic. But I'm not sure at 31 if there's going to be the first-round value that maybe you want at left or right tackle. I'm not sure if it exists in this year's draft class. So what does that mean for the Chiefs? Are they now trading out and moving back? Does this mean that the Chiefs aren't going to go in the trenches and maybe they take Egbuka, maybe they take Luther Burden? I mean, you guys know I'm all for them getting more explosive. I'm all for them adding weapons. I'd love for them to take a wide receiver. If you were telling me that the Chiefs' focus is not going to be on the offensive or defensive line, and it's in taking dynamic players to add to this offense where you are looking for the future and you have built a very strong nucleus of players under the age of 25, 26 years old, and you have a very talented running back from this year's draft class, maybe you pick up a wide receiver in round 1 and you pair that with Worthy, you pair that with Rice, and you are going to put more younger, cheaper weapons around Patrick Mahomes, sign me up. I'm all for it. Mike Renner is coming on this show telling us that he believes this draft class at running back is generational.
In terms of year on year, which class is going to look the most special historically, 5 years from now? I think it's going to be running back. I just think there's so much talent at it. There's other good classes, but running back to me looks like once in a decade sort of class.
Once in a decade draft, he just said. Once in a decade. They have only given Patrick Mahomes one of those kind of running backs one time in his career. He won MVP when they gave him that kind of running back. When they gave him a true game-changing running back, he won NFL MVP. So maybe they're not going to use the 31st overall pick on a running back. I wouldn't use the 31st overall pick. But I'm looking at pick 63 and pick 66, and if you really have to, the 95th overall pick. But I'm more focusing in on 63 and 66. I think you can get a very special running back, high up in this draft class. You pair that in this offense, you pair this with Patrick Mahomes, and you can unlock a level of explosiveness that even with a healthy Isaiah Pacheco, you just don't have. I like Isaiah Pacheco. There are going to be at least 10 running backs in this draft class that are better than Isaiah Pacheco. Speed, ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, home run ability. There will be at least 10 running backs that we will look back in 3-4 years and think that guy's better than Isaiah Pacheco. Take one. I will continue to bang the drum for them taking a running back, especially when you have that pick 63 and that pick 66 in a very strong running back class. So we will obviously figure out what the Chiefs do. I'm not against them taking an offensive lineman in round one. I'm not against them taking a defensive lineman. I just want the value to be there if that's what they're going to do. I simply want the value to be there. And a lot of people think that the Chiefs are going to go on the offensive or defensive line. I mean, we have Matt Miller on. That's what he thinks.
I would love for it to be Luther Burden. I'd be happy with a tight end, like a Mason Taylor at that spot. I'd be happy with a speedy edge rusher. But when we get back to how this team normally drafts, I'm with you. It's probably going to be a defensive lineman, probably going to be a defensive tackle, unless one of those offensive tackles falls. But, I don't know, man. Last time they lost the Super Bowl, they got aggressive, and a lot changed in a hurry. And we didn't see that through free agency. So maybe we see it in the draft, with 4 picks in the top 95. Maybe we see some aggressive movement. I had heard 2 weeks ago that they were at least interested in moving up. The last time they were interested in moving up was the Rashee Rice draft when no one would trade with them when they wanted to move up. So we will see what happens.
I think you could use a lot of words to describe the Chiefs' offseason. I think you could use a lot of good words to describe their offseason. I don't think you can use the term aggressive. It feels to me that some of the best value in this draft could be being aggressive at wide receiver and running back. Whether that's taking Burden, who potentially falls and could fall out of round one. If you're telling me that there's going to be a team that gets Luther Burden with the 37th overall pick, he was arguably the best wide receiver in the SEC 2 years ago. No injury history, and you're telling me that there's a chance he doesn't go in round one? Okay. A guy who has shown big home run playability? Okay. That sounds like really good value to me at the back half of the first round. Really, really good value. So, Rob, that's my biggest question. You and I were debating yesterday about moving up in the NFL draft. I'm always for moving up. I'm always going to be for using your assets to go get players that you really, really like. But now talking to more people, listening to more draft pundits, it doesn't sound like that value is going to be there at tackle this year. I don't know if it's going to be there for them if they stand firm at 31. I'm also not really sure if the Chiefs are going to have the opportunity to trade back. Usually, if you're going to trade back in that scenario, there's going to be a wide receiver that a team really loves. Maybe that player is Luther Burden. A team really likes him. They want to move up to make sure they get him in round one and get the fifth-year option. Or it's going to be a quarterback that a team really, really likes. What we saw happen with the Ravens a couple of years ago with Lamar Jackson. But as of now, I think the Chiefs are going to select at 31. Is there going to be that value for them at left tackle, right tackle, or on the defensive line? Or are they potentially going to have to go in a different direction in round one?
After hearing the amount of draft people we've had on the show, I think the Chiefs are going to go offensive line in the first round because everyone we've had on, outside of talking about the flaws in this O-line class, the other thing they keep saying is there's good depth at interior and there's a lot of good names at edge and there's great names at running back. So if the best quality, if the quality at 31 and 64 are the same, or 60, whatever it is, at edge, essentially, I would wait on edge. Everyone's telling you there's good value in edge. I would wait on running back. If round one is the only chance to pop for a league quality starting tackle, whether it be left or right, I think you have to do that because you might have a situation where you get to draft a tackle you think is NFL quality and you get to redshirt him, but it sounds like with the depth at other positions the Chiefs need, they need to be targeting O-line in round one. I don't know if that means trade up to get Kelvin Banks, who I think might go top 10, top 11, But I think they're going to need to get one on the first day because there aren't any on day 2.
Yeah, I mean, we had Mike Renner on the show, and he said that he doesn't believe there's that Kingsley Suamataia, that Wanye Morris prospect in day 2 of the draft. That's not really where the strength is for this team. So I agree with you. If the Chiefs are going to go offensive line and you're expecting that guy to be a contributor, that guy will likely have to be in round 1 just based on the kind of prospect that he could potentially be. There's a lot of different ways that this draft could go for the Kansas City Chiefs. They talked about being more explosive at running back and wide receiver. I'm always going to be for that. Well, you got Patrick Mahomes and just trying to give him more things, more weapons, trying to give him a more well-rounded and complete offense. But I also understand the importance of you could draft a tackle, you could redshirt him for this year and have him ready for next year in 2026. I think there's a lot of different ways this could play itself out. We are off early today because of the Kansas City Royals. Good luck to them today in their series against the Colorado Rockies. We'll be back tomorrow continuing to get you ready for round 1 of the NFL draft. Keep it right here. So Drive.
The Drive with Carrington Harrison on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car